Maple has some friends from China joining now.
Oh, great.
And by the way, you did not advertise this event as like open to the public, right? So it was not advertised on social media or...
We did.
Oh, you did?
We did
on Twitter
WeChat,
as well? Because I follow you. Yeah.
On LinkedIn. We have a newsletter. We have a constant content newsletter subscriber. We have thousands of people who subscribe to our newsletters. But usually, you know, there is statistics of hitting rate. Rate is usually 10–15%. You know, but we use multiple channels to do marketing.
I see. But I follow you on Twitter now, and I was wondering if you. But yeah.
Should I just kick it off? Let's get started. All right. Hello, everyone. So delighted to have you all joining us this Saturday morning here in Boston, or evening if you're in Beijing in China. I am Yudan Zhang, a strategy and transactions partner from EY Boston. So thrilled to be back again as a moderator after Nasina's very successful Asian Women Conference earlier in January. On behalf of the entire Nasina team, welcome to our 2021 annual conference. Today is a very special day for Nasina. We're not only hosting the 25th annual meeting, but also celebrating Nasina's 25 years of achievement. So happy birthday, Nasina. Well done. For those who are new to Nasina, it stands for New England Chinese Information and Networking Association. Founded in 1996 by a group of highly successful Chinese entrepreneurs, Nasina's mission is to nourish entrepreneurship, facilitate professional career development, and bridge the business and culture gaps between New England and Greater China. As a nonprofit organization, we currently have over 7,000 newsletter subscribers and members. We organize 30 to 40 events annually, featuring distinguished guest speakers in business, academia, government, and the nonprofit sector in the US, Europe, and Asia. We have a fully packed agenda today, but at the same time, I would highly encourage everyone to submit your questions in the Q&A box. Remember, it's the Q&A box, not the chat box. So we'll do our best to accommodate all the questions along the way with the guest speakers. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Nasina's president, Connie Dai, for her opening remarks. Over to you, Connie.
Thank you very much, Yudan. Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to have everyone here on such a beautiful and a sunny Saturday morning here in New England. And I cannot believe that after an unprecedented year-long fight with COVID-19, we are finally in the end of the tunnel. Because of pandemic, so many lives lost, so many patients survived, and so many innovations created. Quoting Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, words, "Everything we do during and after this crisis of COVID must be with a strong focus on building more inclusive, equal, sustainable economic and societies that are more resilient in the face of pandemic, climate change, and the many other global challenges that we face." So today we are gathering here to learn and appreciate the wisdom of highly accomplished leaders regarding the most exciting developments and future trends in artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain, digital currency, solar technology, and new energy. So we hope as individuals, as well as innovators, business owners, after hearing these presentations, you will make smarter decisions, identify technological opportunities, and manage risks in a hyper-connected world. So without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Mr. Pierre-Alexandre Balland. Pierre is a French economist and Europe's leading experts in complex systems, smart cities, artificial intelligence, and the blockchain. I would like to turn the podium to Mr. Balland.
Thank you so much, Connie, for this amazing introduction, and thanks everyone for this invitation. I'm very, very thrilled and honored to be participating to this 25th event at Nasina. Let me share my screen. I have a small presentation for this. All right. Okay, so as Connie said, the title of this presentation is like leading in a complex world. What does that mean? That means that this world is getting incredibly complex by the day. And usually these changes that used to take place over generations happen very, very quickly. And the problem with this very rapid increasing complexity of our world and increasing connectivity of our world is basically that we have an overload of information. There's just so many sources out there of science and knowledge. Like, how do you choose? How do you make a selection? What do you prioritize? There's so many new technological trends that make entire careers and skill obsolete from one day to the next. Like, how do you accommodate this overwhelming information? How do you identify technological opportunities? How do you manage risk in this hyper-connected world? So this is eventually the problem that we're going to be tackling today. So one of my missions in my work through different type of space and sphere is actually to help people and organizations to navigate this complex world. So offer some principles, some heuristics that will eventually help you to make smarter decisions in a world that is sometimes very uncertain, because there are things that we can predict, and we have tools to predict something that were not able to be predicted 10 years ago. But there are also things that happen, patterns that emerge in this hyper-connected world that are based on very hidden interdependencies that makes a lot of things, a lot of events completely unpredictable. So how do you act in face of uncertainty? Well, we also have heuristic and principle to help navigate this complex world. And that's basically what I want to focus my talk today and share this kind of exciting topic with you. So I basically work in 3 different domains. The first one, obviously, is academia. It's where I come from. I'm a professor. I have a career that spans from French universities, UCLA, MIT in the US, nowadays Utrecht University in the Netherlands, and a center, very interesting center, newly created by the French president Emmanuel Macron on artificial intelligence in Toulouse, where basically this center is one of the cornerstone of the French AI strategy, to gain leadership in AI in the future economy. And basically what I do in this academic sphere is essentially I try to understand the world. I try to understand patterns that are not really visible and obvious to most of us. And this is my work in research. I publish books, I publish articles on that, and I teach. And one of my focus, of course, is AI, blockchain, complex system in general, and the future of cities. Now, this knowledge that is basically coming from the lab is something I'm very excited to share outside the lab. And I do a lot of work advising research and innovation policy. So I'm basically an advisor to the European Commissioner on research and innovation policy. The budget for this kind of policy is about 120 billion, every programming period. So that's a lot of money. And the key issue is like, where do we invest? Like, you will have no idea to see that, very high level executives, C-level people in top corporation, ministers are completely lost in this new world where they were completely, relevant, and the knowledge and career and expertise was at the top of the game 10 years ago. And today you just throw a splash of, deep learning and blockchain and everybody's lost. Like, how do we identify opportunities? How do we position? How do we regulate this space? Because we don't understand the underlying technology. So that's really where, some of our tools and principles come in to basically help you to stay, a leader in this complex world. And I do a lot of work as well in entrepreneurship. So in the industry part, where I work with like C-level exec, large corporation like L'Oreal, I advise the World Bank. And what I do here is like I create smart investment recommendation systems. Because there is one thing about this complex world, it gives you a lot of information if you know where to find the structure of the economy. So in the structure of the economy, in the way we are interconnected, there is a lot of information. Exactly the same way that Facebook makes recommendation and tells you, you might be friends with this person because they know if you have friends in common. What they do is they analyze the structure of your social network. And from analyzing the structure of your social network, they can make prediction. That's what modern AI is all about. So we can use the structure of this complex world to make a lot of very meaningful predictions. And I absolutely love to evolve in these three spheres because I think they should be much more connected. And usually academics tend to hang out with academics, policymakers hang out with policymakers, and entrepreneurs hang out with entrepreneurs. And there's a lot of innovation that can come out of the recombination of these three spheres. And that's one of my missions. So if you will ask me, look, Pierre-Alex, you've been studying complex systems for now like 15, 20 years. What is the thing that, surprised you the most? What is the thing that makes you, that kind of drives you a little bit crazy? And the thing I will tell you, if I would have to summarize all that I know about complex systems, is that we live in an incredibly winner-takes-all world. So that to me is the number one lesson I wanna drive home, is that if you look at Elon Musk, he increases his wealth by 160 billion over the past 5 years. Joe Rogan signed a deal for his podcast with Spotify for 100 million. ByteDance is valued today at 160 billion. J.K. Rowling sold 500 million copies of Harry Potter. And all of this world where you see these very few winners, these winners, they coexist with most people that don't make any money, not a single penny, selling podcasts, entrepreneurs that fail and fail and fail and actually lose money, people on Instagram that have like 5 followers. So what we live is in this world where this incredible superstar just grab everything and most people have actually nothing. And what I want to tell you is that the reason why we live in this world has actually nothing to do with the skills of these people. It has nothing to do with how many hours they put in their work. Joe Rogan is not working 100 million times that someone who has a podcast that nobody listens to. That's not what drives this success. What drives this immense amount of wealth in this new world, in this complex world, is all about the structure of the economy and this interconnectivity. Because the world is getting more and more interconnected, that creates room for network effects, compounding effects, self-reinforcing feedback loops, a lot of geeky terms that I won't go too much into, but basically create this kind of snowball effects. And then you have this kind of winner takes all. So that's the world, we live in. And this is a thing I talk about also in my private life. And when I said that to my partner, I said, in this world, returns are increasingly decoupled from this individual effort. And she told me, well, what you're telling me is basically the American dream is broken because the American dream is all about the fact that you work hard, you're going to make it. And now we have this, squeeze middle class. And we have so many people that wake up early in Walmart, work really hard, have a second job, and cannot even make their mortgage payments. Like, how does that work? And I said, yes, you're right. The American is broken. And what broke this American dream is the fact that this world is getting super interconnected. And that creates a lot of room for leveraging effect. And leveraging effect is the reason why we have this emergence of superstars. So basically, now the first thing you can leverage historically is labor. Okay, so you have a cleaning company, you start doing everything, and you start hiring people to do the lower end task, and then you climb up, you create a hierarchy, and essentially when you create a hierarchy, you're leveraging labor. So that's division of labor. And from Adam Smith 300 years ago, we know in economics that division of labor drives return. And there are some people that manage to be at the top of the chain and basically leverage labor. But that's not much. You cannot get so much leverage. Anyone that run a large, complex organization know that there are decreasing effects. It's very hard to manage very, very large teams. Capital is much easier to leverage. Okay, so if you have someone like Warren Buffett that makes decision and makes decision a little bit better, like 1% better than someone else, eventually capital will flock to this 1%. And then if you charge a fee on that, basically you leverage your decision-making process based on that. Media, when we have Joe Rogan that can reach every single person that listens to Spotify, we have this one channel that concentrates one type of diffusion. Books are the same, so podcasts, books, any kind of media outlet really benefits from this leveraging effect. And the last one, of course, is code, where then you can even automatize the work of other people. So essentially, as we move towards an economy that is more and more dominated through like code, media, capital, what we're doing is we're getting more and more into a position of leverage for the few that have the skills to build this leverage. And that drives us to the future of work. So essentially, this hyperconnectivity we're talking about, what it is, it's a force multiplier. And it's a force multiplier of 3 key skills that are completely be the base of the future of work. If you don't have these skills, then you should be worried. And that's what I tell my students all the time. These are the skills you have to build because these are the skills of the future. Complex decision-making. You know, if you talk about AI and automation, AI is really good in a very narrow domain where you give a lot of structured information. But if you have complex decision-making that span different domains, then AI gets completely lost. You know, AI is very domain dependent. So that's like the Warren Buffett of the world, is complex decision-making. Creative content is also something that's very hard to automate, and that is driving, you know, this media channel that pushes the leverage in this complex world. And the last one, which I think is really important and people sometimes get wrong, is the business technology interface. And I'm not talking about pure technical skills that can be taught to a large audience. I'm not talking about the business skills that truly come from mastering a specific domain. I'm talking about the interface. When I started working with L'Oréal, and they asked me to develop some kind of recommendation system for their location strategy, you know, where they're going to invest in a new headquarters, where they're going to invest in a new incubator, these kind of things. I was like, they probably have in-house amazing computer scientists, amazing IT people, and they do. And I met them. The problem I found is that the very high C-level decision-making business world in the organization was somehow disconnected from the tech world in the organization. So basically, the data solutions were there in the organization, but there were a lack of imagination to actually understand how to solve a very specific business problem with a data solution. So a lot of skills now are converging into like this higher level understanding of the technology and very good understanding of the business problem. This is exactly how Google grew. Google grew because Green and Page like follow a network science class at Stanford in 1995, and they realized that the way we measure centrality in social networks could be used if you reshape the network of the internet as a network where you have websites connected through hyperlinks. And once you start to reframe the problem in this way as a network problem, then you can use an already ready packaged network solution that was actually available, you know, in the knowledge space for like many, many years. And that's this recombination of business and technology. This is this interface that creates massive amount of wealth and leverage in this world. So these three skills, they are the foundation of the future of work. They are very hard to automate, but hold on, they're very hard to train at scale. So essentially, that's what gives a lot of comparative advantage to the person that has these skills. But they require a new mode of education because they're very hard to train at scale. Because if society can really train very, very well an army of people to do stuff, then eventually you don't really have a comparative advantage. You can be replaced, someone is cheaper, or you can be automated. But this kind of skills, they're very hard to train at scale. So our university solution, these silos that are designed years ago, you know, to provide education for a future that we don't know, are not the best place to do that. There is a lot of lifelong learning, you can tell, but basically like a lot of learning that happens from the individual where you have a lot of specific knowledge as being trained. And these skills, they will absolutely accelerate the reinvention of corporate culture, work ethics, and lifestyle. Because these skills, if you want the corporate culture that we live in the US, in Europe, in China, it basically has been designed for the 1970s society, if you want the American dream kind of society, but not for this new society where these new skills need to be nurtured. One of the key foundations for these skills to actually emerge, think about creative content. Think about the space you need to actually create, write a book, make this complex decision-making. What you need to do, first of all, is not to be busy. You don't want to have these meetings that are eating your time and distracting you and making you tired. These skills, the people that really master these skills, I'm talking about the really, really high level, the winner of this world that we show, you know, we discussed about in the previous slide, the way they train these skills, they train as athletes. And if you look at athletes, they don't want to have too much on their plate. Roger Federer sleeps 12 hours a day, you know. Usain Bolt, if you ask him what is his #1 advice for an athlete, is sleep more, be rested. So you have this massive training. So you train your brain through conversation with other people. You train your brain by reading books. You train your brain by learning code, but you need a lot of rest. So we need to reinvent corporate culture, work ethics as well, where it's not about working hard. It's not about squeezing another to-do thing in your day that's going to drive you and I'm going to put you at the top of the scale, in this new world based on these kind of skills. What is going to put you at the top of the ladder here is really reinventing a lifestyle that allows you to train your brain like an athlete trains his or her body. And that I could spend that for like 2 hours, because that's literally about changing every single way we organize corporate culture nowadays and work ethics, okay? One thing that's super important is also to understand that this very complex knowledge tend to be highly localized and concentrated. About 25% of innovation today in the world, they come from 10 cities. That's how much we have this concentration effect happening in terms of knowledge. So you see here, science concentration in China, innovation concentration in the US, in these two maps. And basically what the world is doing is that these spikes, so the amount of knowledge in these large cities, is just going up and up and up after each technological revolution, which confuse a lot of people, because like, well, with the internet, we should have like spread out effect. Well, that's not the way it works, because if you understand how the complex world is structured, this complex knowledge requires a lot of face-to-face interaction, and these cities that start to have some momentum, they attract other people. If you're from a rural area, and if you want to learn really about the tech, it's not going to be by staying in your rural area. You have to be where the knowledge is, because it's very much a network effect. You have to be around your peer to learn about it. And these cities, they also attract new students, new people. So you have this kind of reinforcing effect where after a few iterations, you really have this kind of winner-takes-all kind of world, also from a spatial component. But what does that mean? That also means that, like, as a knowledge worker, you have as much as possible. Of course, we all have family, family constraints, but as much as possible, the people that truly drive success in this new world, they are hypermobile. They hop from one knowledge circle to the next. Think about your little lab, little office, where I have also in my universities, where after a while, we all talk about the same things. At the beginning, it's all exciting and we share big ideas and big visions. And after a while, we're like, well, we kind of, know each other too much. So you need to expand your boundaries and actually hop into a new circle. Because, going back to network science 20 years ago, we already knew that true innovation that comes between two circles that are very interconnected, but within each other. But then there is no between bridge. If you manage to be the bridge between two communities that do not really speak to each other, that's where you have a lot of hotbeds for innovation. And that's going to drive a lot of the trends in like remote working, where I give a lot of talks on like the future of cities, and clearly the vision I see is that we're going to have a lot of multi-city hopper people, that are going to really jump a lot between these cities and have a lot of this kind of short-term stay to actually create and manage like global ecosystem and a connection between global ecosystems. We do a lot of work on like the future of like industry 4 technologies, so blockchain, AI. And then what we see is that, predicting, it's all about prediction. It's not actually what's happening today, it's all prediction. What you see here is essentially Ile-de-France, so the Paris region, Munich. Again, in the work of the future, we can already see the winners like popping up from like very early signal that's going to signal this very strong concentration in the world again. Now, this is the big picture. Like, what can you do? How can you make prediction in this world? Well, there is the good news. The structure of this interconnected world, when I say interconnected, you can imagine a lot of connection. If they are not hidden, you can exploit them to make prediction. And that's basically what the AI revolution has shown us. So what the AI revolution has shown us, over the past 15 years is basically exploiting network structure. So here you have an Amazon patent, and you have a simplified version with these blue circles and squares. And basically the squares, they are products, and the circles, essentially, they are customers. So when you have a plain arrow, what you have is a customer buying a product or making a click, essentially, linking a customer to a specific product. And what you have in the dash arrow is that if a lot of customers that bought this product also bought this product, which is the information you have by analyzing network structure, then you can start making prediction. I don't want to get too geeky here, but basically you have much more information in the structure of a network than in the attributes of all the actors of the network. Okay, there's very poor information. And modern AI techniques were actually have been really, really good. And this is the same for Netflix, this is the same for Google, Baidu, Tencent. Basically, the AI champion of the world what I've been doing, and I've been really, really good at doing, is exploiting this kind of network structure. But I'm going to make a claim here that probably going to, make me debate with a lot of people, is that these modern AI techniques, they're actually really, really good, amazing at making large-scale predictions, but for what I will call simple network structure. And I'm not saying it's simple to develop AI tools. I do that as well. And I'm not saying it's simple. I'm not saying it's simple to create this kind of engineering system that doesn't crash when you have 100 million customers. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like the data structure itself is known. And the bigger problem we have in a complex world is that a lot of interdependencies are actually hidden and we don't know them. And this is where a lot of complex phenomenon comes from. And then, you have another winner takes all kind of game. Why? Because as soon as you have some initial condition, starting condition, where an AI is slightly better than the other one, what you have is like you get more customers. Because you get more customers, you get more data. Because you have more data, you become even better. Now iterate this snowball a few times, and what you have is like a compounding effect where you really truly have a winner takes all kind of game in the longer run. We also use this information to make a lot of prediction in terms of economic development and economic growth. Here, what you have, one of the biggest questions I'm being asked, because I'm a bit between the US and Europe, by the European Commission and any policymakers, ministers in France or anywhere in the world, is basically, why is there this huge gap between the US and Europe? And the first thing I'm telling you is like, stop looking only at the US. It's US, China, and Europe is tiny in this world. I could explain forever why. One of the big reasons why the US was so good at actually kickstarting AI is because they had already a lot of the knowledge ecosystems. So what you see here on this graph is links between different types of technologies, IT methods for management, medical technology, optics, nanotech. And what you see here is that AI is very related to other technologies like control, medical technology, nanotech, very related. And basically, before even the AI revolution, you had this very strong knowledge in these yellow bubbles in the US. But what we see in Europe is that you didn't have the same technologies out there. You had a lot of technologies around machine tools. That's a lot of German occupations that are related to that, metallurgy, handling. So basically, that's where the knowledge was in Europe. And just based on that, we can make very strong prediction on where AI is going to pop up in the future. So we can use information on economic structure. That's actually most of my work as an economist, as an advisor. We use information economic structure to actually make prediction of what are going to come next. And that's really, really strong. That is one of the strongest predictive models that has ever been published in the field. And that gives you a lot of ideas like where the world is going. So again, message here is that this complex world has a lot of information in the structure of the economy that you can use to make prediction on what kind of movies you're going to watch next, or where this economy is going, which city is going to grow. There is a lot of information there. So a lot of our work is actually to create these tools to use this information, okay? Blockchain, I could not resist but talk a little bit about blockchain. That's a lot of my work in my group in this AI center. It's an AI center, but I wanted to introduce a blockchain over there. Something really, really important to understand how blockchain kind of links to technologies. Essentially what's happening is nobody can tell you whether one of the crypto will win over the other. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance Coin, like Solana, nobody knows. But there's not a single really smart mind that I talk to who doesn't believe that crypto somehow is the future, okay? Now, crypto will disrupt every industry by lowering transaction costs. That's also how you create more connection. It will increase hyperconnectivity that we have. My prediction is at a scale that we cannot even imagine, because it will provide trust at scale. Instead of having people like auditing, controlling every single kind of attempt of the world to connect, you're going to have an automation through smart contracts. That changes everything. It will also enable something we don't talk, the scaling of AI solution, because if you actually ever explore some kind of blockchain, whether the Binance Smart Chain, the Ethereum chain, the Bitcoin chain, what you see is that it's a way to structure data and make it interoperable, which is absolutely beautiful for AI development. The reason why most of the AI tech actually come from internet data is because internet data is super structured. And most AI techniques are very, very hard to deploy in a corporate environment through like private data sets that have been developed in an age where AI did not exist. So it's very, very hard to make sense of the data. But here with the blockchain, you have this very large scale structured interoperable data, which is going to change forever the way we deploy AI. And also I kind of had to show that it will also incentivize the use of renewable energy. Love to talk about it as well, but basically create a system where by design, you can have monetary system running on renewable energy in principle by design because of the system, instead of having to drive to the bank to take cash, instead of having so many employees like monitoring this monetary system by actually physical connection. Here you remove the need for this physical connection. You completely digitalize the monetary system. Huge implication for the complexity of the world and also how different type of government or individuals position themselves. Like blockchain revolution has been the one space I've worked in lately where I saw so many smart people that were at top of the game 5 years ago being completely lost today, being like, I don't know what's happening. I do not understand. How can I design policy, regulate? How can I design a strategy for my company if I don't understand the technology? And that's really the game changer. This very fast technological change is changing the way people, make decisions forever. Now, I want to finish my talk with one thing, which is one thing we learn as well, looking at complexity theory, is that it's actually really hard to make predictions. It's going to be like, what? Yeah, Alex, you just told us that there are a lot of information to be exploited here to make decisions. And now you're telling us that a lot of things are unpredictable. Yes, there are a lot of things that are predictable and there are a lot of things that are not predictable. And we have to design our strategy to be actually hedged against that as well. So what machines cannot predict? And that's where we're going to need the strength of human wisdom. So what you can predict, Paul Krugman, one of my colleagues, working in the same field as me, he received a Nobel Prize. As you might know, one of the smartest economists in the world, completely got wrong a lot of technological trends, which I found very interesting. That was his quote about the internet. It will become very clear that internet will have no bigger impact than the fax machine. And it's kind of reiterating this claim now in blockchain. And you can see how someone really, really smart can get some technology trend really, really wrong. So, like one of the things don't bet against technology, COVID-19, nobody could see it coming. Financial crisis of 2008, nobody really could see it coming. So these kind of events you cannot predict, but you can predict that they will occur. So you cannot predict when and what, but we know that because of the structure of our world is so hyper-connected, okay? If there is a virus popping up somewhere because of the connectivity of our world, you can predict that it's gonna spread. So I worked a lot with the European Commission lately. Actually, most of my work the past year has been about the stimulus package of COVID-19 and building resilience. That's why your introduction, Connie, really echo what we do with the European Commission when you were talking about like inclusive society, resilient, sustainable. That has been my work for the past year with the European Commission on developing this kind of COVID relief package and stimulus and actually go toward like a green transition, inclusive and resilient. So build global value chains that are resilient to this kind of disruption, because I cannot predict when the next COVID will happen. But what I can tell you is that because of the structure of our economy, this is very, very, very likely that something like that will happen again. It will come in different flavors and different colors, but I can ensure you that it will happen again. So we have to be hedged against that. The way we design our value chains don't have to be all the time through efficiency, but we have to build some form of redundancy. And humans tend to be a bit cocky and think that we can master all of this, but nature always come back. And the interconnectivity of the world has a lot of risk in build. It's not because it doesn't happen for 10 years, 20 years that the risk is not there. That's really important to understand. Same for financial crisis, the way it works, like leveraging and deleveraging. It's like, I don't need to be an oracle to tell you that we're gonna have another crisis. It will happen just because of the structure of our financial world. So you have to be hedged. Again, you just have to be like, okay, it's gonna happen. Am I prepared if it happens? When I make a scenario, that's the way we have to think about these kind of things. And I'm going to end on this, which I think is very interesting to understand. It's like basically, on the left-hand side, what you have is what you were taught at school. At school, you are taught that we live in a normal world, which means you have a few people a bit taller than others, but most people tend to be around this average. You don't have anyone that is tall, is a 500-meter tall in the world. That does not exist. See, and the ultra riches, they do not exist. So you have the percentage of population on the y-axis, and the x is like wealth or any kind of other manifestation of a complex socioeconomic variable. And in the real world, in natural world, that does not exist. And all of our statistical tools, all of our principles, all of our policies, think about UBI, are based, again, this American dream is based on the idea that everybody is kind of around the mean, the average, but this is not how complex systems work. The way complex systems work is the other graph, which is this winner takes all kind of graph. And in this world, what you have is this is what we call a fat tail event. And the fat tail events are like, you have a relatively strong probability of this extreme positive or negative outcomes, okay? And that happens, that's the, over there, you're gonna have this very few take it all, this very, small share of the population that has extreme amount of wealth. And this is the world we are moving into. What I want to tell you is that we're moving from a world where even our statistical tools were designed for a simple world. And as the world is getting more complex, we have more and more of these very, very, very massive events that changes everything. But there is the thing, they are harder and harder to truly predict because they are the fruit, the production, they are the results of a lot of interconnection that we don't see. That's the complex world I'm talking about. And that is my last slide. That's where we need human wisdom and complex systems heuristic. Complex system heuristic are really, starting from the ground that we don't know how to predict what comes. Let's not be cocky, we don't know because it's too complex. But there are ways to build principles, habits, lifestyle that allows you to thrive in a world that you can predict, that you cannot predict. That's the beauty of it. So through leverage, we cover that. Optionality, make sure that you have the option. Don't go all in. That's what I was telling you a little bit before. Like, you want to have dry powder in terms of cash because you know that this is always going to be something that's going to happen. So you have dry powder to invest where basically the assets are on sale. Redundancy, even if it sounds non-efficient, to actually build something in double. Like, look, I have 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 eyes. It's not efficient. If, Nassim Nicholas Taleb always say, if nature would have designed a human body, if an economist would have designed a human body, we will have 1 kidney, 1 eye, because the economist will tell you, otherwise too costly. Why do you need 2? Well, you need 2 because you need to be able to survive if something goes wrong with one of them. And that's exactly the thing we have to think. And believe me, it might seem obvious, but it's not. It's a constant battle with managers or policymakers, because you're basically saying, just in case we build something redundant, that's where resilience comes from. And it's not going to look good on your bottom line this year, maybe not the year after, but basically you avoid catastrophe and damage in the long run. Super hard. We need a lot of education to actually make people understand that. You want to be exposed to the upside and protect it from downside. That's a lot of my work in wealth advisory, where you want to be sure that you understand expected probabilities. Okay, I won't dive into it, but super important to make sure that every decision, what is the potential upside, what is the potential downside, and you make your decision like that. Risk reward always come in this world from multiplicative systemic complexity. So you want to design your business, your habits in a way that it compounds, in a way that you can take advantage of these rules that create wealth. And the evolutionary collective wisdom is, again, science should not be taken sometimes too seriously for things that are really, really new. We have to be very careful. We have to be very careful because there is some wisdom in the way our grandparents evolved that we have to understand. We have to understand when it comes from, okay? Because it comes from, first of all, from a population that survived. So we have to be careful when we introduce something really, really new at scale without having a lot of time to test it. Because right now we have one planet that is all interconnected, which means, if we introduce some kind of GMO, for instance, that might wipe out everything, we have to be very careful because it spreads really fast. The same with the type of viruses, information virus that spread really, really fast in this world, and we have one shot. And with one shot, we can mess it up. So we have to be very careful because we evolve in a world where things were not connected. So you can mess up one community and it will not influence the other one. But in this world, it will. So we have to be very careful with the way we manage it. And this kind of evolutionary collective wisdom, sometimes you don't know you use it, but you're using it. It's like why a lot of culture, bring together rice and beans. Why? Because when you bring together the two, you have a lot of enzyme that allows you to digest the protein in a better way, And we didn't have science to know that. It's just an error and feedback loop that allows a lot of culture over the world to come up with this conclusion because it makes you healthy. So there is a lot of knowledge that can be derived from the machine, AI, blockchain, and the structure of our world. But we should not forget that there is a lot of knowledge also in the way our society has evolved. Thank you so much. Merci, Deshe, and please, the floor is yours for Q&As.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Bond. We know you have to run. If any questions coming up later, we'll send it your way afterwards. Thank you so much again. Our next topic is AI on the Edge by Mr. Raj Nair, co-founder of Boston-based software company Avisha. Mr. Nair has over 20 years of experience in technology and telecom sectors, and he's also a very successful entrepreneur. His previous startups include AeroPoint, which was sold to Cisco for $6 billion, and Azuki, that was sold to Ericsson back in 2014. Now over to you, Mr. Nair.
Thank you, Pat. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about our vision for our new company, Avisha, and how we see the web and the internet evolving, and with the new emphasis on the edge and 5G and AI. So that'll be the integration of those things. Let me just share my slides. I think I need to get permission to share. It says, okay, there it is. All right. So okay. So what is happening is right now we see the evolution of the edge. This is from Gartner, basically saying how in 2019 you see that 80% of the compute was actually on the on-prem, and only 1% was on the edge, and of course 19% on the cloud. The cloud, of course, is increasing the use of that, but the interesting thing to see in 2025, what they predict is that this edge, it's going to increase to about 30%, and so this is a tremendous revolution that we should all be aware of and take advantage of. And why is this happening? Well, the main reason for this is that what people are realizing is that there's a lot of data, as the previous speaker spoke, that is being generated, in the let's say all over the place, right? Including, at for example, at a POS on a retail, when somebody's like a doctor's doing an operation, and in a manufacturing floor, and so all of this data that is getting generated at the edge, people are realizing that there's no point in just sending it all the way to the cloud or a data center, but you could actually process it as close as possible to that edge and then derive the maximum value out of that data, and then produce some actionable intelligence that can be fed back to the human, let's say the operator or the doctor, and that can be utilized in real time, so to take advantage of this AI. And so it is that immediacy of it that people are finding very interesting. And so for that you need low latency, and this is where you have technologies like 5G are going to help a lot. And so so when you look at this chart here that we have, you can see that when you want very low latency and there's a lot of data just generated, it's natural to think of processing it right there at the edge. Whereas on the other hand, if your latency is not a big problem, yeah, you have the ability to, of course, leverage the data center or the cloud resources, and of course you should do that. And we have seen that happen, with lots of things like recommendation engines and so on and so forth, where it's not that critical that you need that very low latency. So this is the motivation for the edge. And what we're seeing is there are many verticals where you can apply this. And I mentioned a few, like healthcare and manufacturing. So in the healthcare, for example, a doctor's doing a procedure. They want some AI, some analytics, on that, what they're doing on the AI applied to the data, and get that feedback right away. And I can we did a use case for this, complete one, just to prove the point, and I can talk about that a little bit later. And then similarly, in the manufacturing situation, you have an operator, and there's a need for a visual quality inspection. They want that feedback right away with some AI, and that to assist them. In all of these, it's like AI is just used to assist the human, and so they can take decisions quickly and then save money and have a better outcome. And with retail is similar, and there is the use case for in the retail is actually interesting. It is actually the edge is turning out to be a way for them to lower costs, and by reducing their dependence on expensive data centers, which is what they have, which with dumb terminals connected with fixed bandwidth lines. So if they could have more resiliency and built into the system by making these edges, in their case, the edge would be like a little box in the store, but it is no longer a dumb terminal. It is actually an edge that is got more power at it. And if you had the ability to then, have your credit card transactions flow smoothly, but with more resiliency, it turns out you can actually save money, with this. So you can reduce your dependence on the data centers and have this connected edges, and that becomes a very interesting use case which we can explore. And there are other applications also, like for example in media, where again there's a distribution issue of moving big media files around, which you can imagine that is not easy to do. And when somebody wants to do, say, post-production, work, it becomes complicated. So having this ability to do all of this compute at the edge is tremendously useful. And some of the others, like compliance and having a distributed enterprise, these are some other applications of this. But let's move to a specific use case like this medical one, which I was talking about. So this is something that where you have a medical, if we start from the left, you have this procedure room where you have, a procedure going on. The feed of that is sent out through we have an edge there we call it, which is like we operate as a SaaS. But then in this edge, there is an AI model which does the inferencing on this feed that is sent in. We send back the results, which is then displayed, and this is over 5G, so it's very, very fast. And the output is displayed right on the screen. So as a result, the doctor can make a decision about what they are seeing. And there are situations where they, because they are human and, they may be tired, they might want a second set of eyes, to help them out with that decision making. And so that is essentially what the AI is doing in this use case. But the other interesting thing of this technology is that you could actually have another doctor, in a remote location, basically connect using, say, for example, a tablet, and make some annotations. And that could also be shown to this doctor performing the procedure. So it becomes a very interesting, connectivity issue. And this is exactly what we are trying to do. We are trying to make it easy for you to essentially move any of your data or workloads from anywhere, but using the tools of the modernized, web infrastructure, including things like Kubernetes and so on, which allows you to move these workloads very easily. and solves that the connectivity problem. And but you still need a way to do that efficiently and optimally. And like the previous speaker was saying, there is a complexity there because and we actually use AI also for optimizing that distribution, which I'm not going to get into this talk, but just wanted to make a comment on that. So the thing about this is we call this real-time video-based inferencing, and it gives you this the best use of the data because the operator, in this case the doctor, is able to get the use of that AI and that data immediately and can make decisions. And will show a small video to just explain that point. Yeah, so another thing that naturally comes out of this is how do you further enhance, what else can you do, right? So one of the things that we also did is said, okay, let's use a NLP based and a voice based interface so that not only the doctor can see the results of the AI on the screen, but can actually annotate it. So you can say, take a picture and then have a dialogue, and then all of that gets attached to this object that was directed, and then that can go into EMR. And so the beauty of this is that it gives you a fully integrated, modernized way of doing a procedure, which can, it is more efficient for the doctor. They don't need to spend time with the bookkeeping and all the mundane parts of it, and they can focus more on the patient care. So here I have a little video that I just wanted to show you of a thing that we did with Verizon and AWS. It was for the launch of the 5G Mac, and I'm just going to play that.
Hi, I'm Raj Nair. I'm the co-founder, chief scientist, and acting CEO of Avacia Systems. We build a platform for accelerating edge applications. The trial we're doing with Verizon and AWS is about using AI to help endoscopists more accurately detect polyps in real time.
I'm Dr. Shannon Scholl. I'm a gastroenterologist in Raleigh, North Carolina, and a physician owner in Raleigh Endoscopy Center. One of the problems that gastroenterologists like myself face is finding these very subtle polyps. The purpose of this trial is to use 5G, AI, and the edge to put another set of eyes on that. Colonoscopy moves very, very fast, and I really need a computer program to keep up with me. I can't wait 2 to 3 seconds. So the really vital thing about this technology is the speed.
It works by taking the video feed from the scope, sending it through the 5G network to the wavelength mode, where the AI model is trained for identifying different types of polyps. And the results are then sent back in real time to the monitor of the practitioner.
So what you're seeing here is the actual high-def monitor that I'm looking at during a colonoscopy procedure. The neat thing about this program is that it's drawing bounding boxes around the polyp in real time. They really draw my attention to this sort of pale, flat polyp that's trying to blend into the background. Might not have otherwise seen this.
The system, if it's not fast enough, will actually miss drawing boxes around the polyps in real time. And that's why you need Verizon's 5G and AWS wavelength to give you that low latency.
The thing that really excites me about this technology is that I think it's going to be really important in the prevention of colon cancer. It improves accuracy in patient outcomes. It's going to be the standard of care, and it's going to be accessible to everyone, and that's good medicine.
So that was just an example of what you can do with when you integrate this and if you have this AI on the edge. Let me just continue. So I'm going to next talk about a different type of edge, and this is the retail edge. And this I touched upon, but the idea here is you have these stores, each with a little box, which is basically the retail edge, and then they're connected back to a cloud. But the beauty of this is that they can operate even when they are disconnected. I think there's something slowing down my computer, but bear with me. There you go. So this is what we call the disconnected edge. So what it is what's happening is because of we have seen a very sharp demand, and large number of transactions going up. So a natural way to scale this is to have a little bit more intelligence on these edges, so that then you could actually, in a time of very high demand, you're not being bottlenecked by something even in the cloud or because these are like spikes that you see, and you want to be able to handle that. So in many cases, you want that your transactions to continue processing in a sort of disconnected manner, but then when it can reconnect back to sync back, to the cloud. So these are some of the advantages of having the intelligence and a little bit more capacity at the edge. And just wanted to point that out. And now we go to a different edge, which is the manufacturing edge, and where, as you can imagine, a very similar workflow like we saw with the medical could also apply here, where you have the object detection, you have that analysis going back into to the operator, and they can take decisions in real time and save a batch. So I'm just gave you a few examples of what you could do when you have an integration between the edge, the 5G, and also the cloud and AI. And so you have essentially the ability to deploy any of your workloads anywhere, and at the same time, you can deliver a better quality of experience for your end users. So this is something you're welcome to come and look at. We have a lot of material on our website, but I wanted to give you a glimpse of what is possible, with this kind of technology. With that, I'll stop here. Thanks, Connie.
Thank you, Mr. Raj. Just out of curiosity, how big is Avisha these days? Are you in the US, global?
Yeah, we are a very early stage startup, and so we have about 25 employees in India, and we have about 6 here. But we are going to grow rapidly, and we are, but we do have very interesting use cases in several verticals that for essentially adding intelligence to the edges and utilizing the power of the connectivity to essentially bring better outcomes to the business.
Awesome, good to hear. Thank you so much for sharing all the information, also spending the Saturday hours with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I also have a hard stop at 10, so I'm available by email and everything. So feel free to with any questions.
Awesome, thank you again.
Thank you.
So needless to say, technology is transforming every aspect of our daily life. Our next speaker, Mr. Manoj Kumar, will share his insights from the energy perspective. Mr. Kumar is the CEO of Powerly, a technology platform that partners with global utility companies to give households instant data for better energy decisions. Prior to Powerly, Mr. Kumar was a management consulting partner at McKinsey and PwC. Now over to you, Mr. Kumar.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So I know Raj has just left the meeting, but I completely endorse this whole edge computing play that he was talking about. I'm not going to go into technology, but what we do in our platform uses a lot of edge computing, because if you want to turn on a light or turn off a light, you don't want to wait for 20 minutes or 20 seconds. I'm exaggerating, for the signal to go up to the cloud. So that is a very, very cool concept that actually works in my world as well. So Ben, are you going to share the deck, or should I do that myself?
And you can do that yourself, Naj.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. Okay, so can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So I'd like to talk about how we can really, really facilitate or accelerate the transition to a cleaner future, and what my perspective on that is, and what we are doing in my company to make that happen. And I really want to touch on 4 points. The first one is awareness, which is how do we kind of really get everybody educated and aware of the problem in front of us, which we all are discussing and talking about all the time. The second one is infrastructure. What do we have that we can do today? And then empowerment, giving everybody a choice to make an impact to a cleaner, greener future. And then what is the opportunity? So with that, on the awareness point of view, everybody thinks of 2020 as this coronavirus pandemic, which has been very unfortunate, and we are all living through that. But 50 years ago, we had the first Earth Day, when we actually, as people qualified and started talking about climate change, global warming. And, so we've been talking about it for a very, very long time. And it's kind of been happening, but not really happening, because we are in the throes of seeing the issues that we are seeing with climate change, and the hurricanes, the temperature changes, etc. So it's kind of interesting that this started 50 years ago. The key point here, again, this should not be news to anybody here, given the fact that we are all in the technology space, is that we are in the middle of a crisis, and we are actually seeing a huge impact of greenhouse emissions, and the impact that is having on the climate. And so if you look at the key contributors here, you see energy as being top of the chart out here on the Pareto. And really, we see that 2020, if you model this down as a peak, and this is a chart from the EU as they look at greenhouse gas emissions, and we have a choice. We have a choice to contain this. And really, what we're talking about here is energy is kind of the key contributor of greenhouse gas emissions, which is causing this impact on the climate. And we really have two choices. Choice number one is to change our energy sources to be renewable, which is not going to happen right away. It's going to take some time. Everybody's talking about 10 years, 20 years, something like that. But the other choice we have is to give people the ability to really understand the electrical signature, to really understand how much energy they're using, and make them aware and give them the ability to make a change, right? But the first step is just getting them to be aware of how much energy they're using, so they can make an impact, and then give them insights to change their behavior, to use less of fossil fuel, so that we can actually make an impact today, right now. And that is what we want to talk about, is how do we do that? Paris Climate Agreement, November 2016, I'm glad the US is back on the table, has been talking about limiting the global temperature increase to less than 2 degrees. I think 1.5 degrees is kind of the base point. If we can achieve that, we can actually make an impact. We're seeing a lot of adaptation to this in various sectors, and there's a lot of money that is also going into renewable energy and and all kinds of programs that are promoting it. So energy sector is kind of very key to really making a change, including the electrification that we're seeing with EVs coming on the grid. And as you can imagine, as more and more EVs come in, and we're going to use more energy. The quality of that energy is very important if it's coming from fossil fuels versus renewables. So having people really understand what energy is, what a kilowatt is, it's kind of a very interesting problem, because this is a very unique commodity. I would say that you get your bill at the end of the month, but it's too late because you are paying for something that you've already used, and you really don't even understand what you did. We're living in a world where we have 100% information on what we are eating, where we're shopping, where we're traveling. But when it comes to our home, which is probably one of the biggest investments we all have in our life, we have no idea if we're wasting energy, if our appliances are not working, and why we are paying for energy, and in the way we are. And so it's kind of a very interesting black box we're living in. And so what we are trying to do, is give people a choice to really understand their energy footprint, so they can actually make a difference and collectively contribute right now to make a change while we are moving to a cleaner, renewable energy resource world. So, some examples of what is happening, right? So there are goals to cut down CO2. We are talking about, renewable energy cost reduction, solar, batteries, wind turbines, and we're making a lot of progress. Technology is doing a great job, and things are getting much more cost effective. Technology performance is improving. Utilities are adding more and more of green sources to their grid infrastructure, and there's a technology breakthrough that's happening. But it's going to take another 10 to 20 years to make all this happen. And the question I have for you is, it's very cool that this is going to take, and that we are moving in this direction, but it's going to be 10 or 20 years. So the question is, what do you do now? What do you do now? And that's what I mean by infrastructure here, is what we have billions of dollars that are invested by utilities, that is just sitting there. So we all have smart meters, at least 100 million of us in this country. And these meters are sitting outside our house, and they're doing a great job of communicating back to the grid and giving utilities efficiencies in terms of, you don't have to send a human being now to read the meter, or the data that is sitting there comes back in terms of outage, etc. But that meter that is sitting outside your house also has the ability to tell you as a consumer what your energy footprint is. How much energy are you using today? And the first step is just really understanding that. The next step being, what can you do about it? And if you can do something about it, you can actually make a change for the environment today, while we're taking 20 years to change every energy resource from going fossil fuels to wind or solar. So what I want to really challenge and get more really part of this, which is the mission of my company, is give people a choice. because the infrastructure is there. It's sitting there outside our house. It is just unutilized. So if we empower people, give them the ability to really understand, what they're using, why they're using, we can do something now. So just as an example, in 2018, when we're using very, very basic energy efficiency programs, which means home energy reports that show up in your house. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, which tell you how your neighbor was performing. These are very latent and non-actionable pieces of information that people may or may not react to, but they do drive behavior change in some people, right? And just those kind of basic things, plus changing your bulbs from going from incandescent to LED, we were able to save 211 terawatts hours of electricity, which is enough to power 26 million homes. We have 130 million homes in the United States. So as you can see, if we actually did more, the impact here to make a difference today is there in front of us, and we can actually do something about it. So what we are trying to do is empower people with tools to proactively control their energy and carbon footprint by first educating them, so that they can actually contribute to a cleaner planet, and then helping that education give them the tools and insights to eliminate energy waste. So, all of us know that, we have so many appliances, for example, connected to our house. You have a TV, you have a computers, etc., etc. We call that in this industry as always on load, right? Because it's vampire load or always on load. All these little things are sucking up a lot of energy. And most people have like 30% or 40% of their energy that is being used up by these loads. And we can put very basic awareness and understanding to take that out. And just by doing that alone, has a huge impact on energy footprint and our carbon footprint, and how we are contributing to get to a greener planet. Additionally, if we are able to do all this stuff, we then help the utilities come up with more intelligent programs to do residential load shaping. So I think it was very interesting in Texas, very unfortunate and very interesting that when we did have the issue that I'm sure all of you are aware of, everybody got an education on the grid, right? So there is a load that the grid can support, and when that load exceeds the capacity, you have to go and buy electricity or you have to generate more. And that particular time typically happens, 3-4 times a year. And just for that alone, if you can actually work with the utility to shape that load, like turn your thermostat 2 degrees lower or not do your dishes or don't charge your EV, that has a huge impact on load shaping. And that's a behavioral change that the utilities can introduce if they are able to connect to the customers who use the electricity and have them participate in this event. And then, helping them transition to renewables, which is kind of a follow-up on that. And then there is this path to electrification, which is very interesting. As we get more and more electric vehicles, there is going to be a huge need on the grid, as you can imagine. And so getting customers to really understand the electric signature and helping them really make a change is very, very, very critical to the future, not only personally, but also for the future of the grid and the sources of energy that we're going to be using. So what we do at Powerly is we have a platform that talks to the smart meters that I just mentioned, about 100 million of addressable market. And we, through our hardware and our software, bring energy to the home. So if you have a connected home, it's a connected home, which you can run rules and you can, turn your lights on and off. Energy makes that an intelligent home because every appliance now becomes intelligent and tells you, how it's doing. Could be, compressors not working as well. So you need help. Your sump pump, if you live in a place where you have a basement and you see rain, is not working and it's raining, or you've done 15 loads of laundry and now you need dish detergent, or you are charging your electric vehicle at a very high rate. If you do that, it's going to cost you more. And by the way, if you aggregate that, then the utility has to buy more in energy, and that might not be coming from clean sources. So energy becomes a critical part, and it's kind of the missing link in this pie, right? And that's kind of what we're doing. Our mission is to bring energy to everybody, to educate them, and allow them to have a choice on how they're using their energy so that they can actually make an impact, not only just from a cost standpoint, but really to eliminate energy waste and help the environment. We've collected, a lot of data from our install base, and we are not monetizing this data. We don't keep any PI information. Data stays with the utility. We are a B2B2C company, so everything we do is branded with the utility. And this data basically is the energy data that delivers insights. So we use this data through machine learning and AI, and we do a lot of edge computing, by the way, as I was mentioning earlier to the previous speaker. And this data is kind of very, very unique because we are able to now, with software, just distill out, the appliance signature, and be able to kind of educate the customer on what they're doing, when they're doing, why they're doing, and really help, drive change to a cleaner planet. So we've developed pretty much 100% accuracy. So a fun fact here is that more than 60% of the homes in this country do not have a smart thermostat. So we hear a lot about Nest and Ecobee and Honeywell. Those thermostats are, probably in like 30% of homes. So you have Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Z-Wave protocol smart thermostat. But more than 60% of the homes do not have a smart thermostat. They're just analog thermostats that are just sitting there that people use. And we are able to, because of the ground truth data we have, tell people that when the thermostat is on, what it's doing, and we are able to connect to them and give them the ability to make a difference without sending them an expensive thermostat or asking them to change, and helping them kind of not change their set points at a time of need when the grid is at a peak point, to really do some residential demand shaping. So this data is very, very unique. It's very interesting, and the use cases to help the planet and all and everyone here are just in a state of infancy, and we're super excited about that. So the things we're doing with the data. Again, the challenge here is to make people really care, right? If you ask a lot of people, like, what's a kilowatt, right? Outside this group, it's a tough question to answer. So we are able, through a lot of VOC and really understanding, how we can create an experience, right, from a commodity, which is electricity, and get people really interested in it so they can make a change. So we spend a lot of time, really understanding customers, designing our UX, UI to deliver this experience to them. And you can see some examples there. So on the top left, we have something about carbon impact and the number of trees, for example, that you're planting by changing your behavior. Right below that, you see time of use rate. So, there's certain times when the grid is stressed out, and we'll give you a push notification and say, hey, don't do your dishes right now, or don't charge your EV because it's going to cost you a lot of money. And by the way, you're saving the planet. Solar, you see the yellow part out there, we do a bunch of net metering for folks with solar. So we're coming up with tools and ways for people to really engage with their energy and really participate in this change to help, the cause to a greener planet. And the things that come out of that are, first and foremost is bill and budget management, right? So giving people tools on the web, on their app, and through Alexa and Siri and Google Home, the ability to really say, why is my bill so high? Is it because I left something on? Is it, because there were so many more days in the calendar month, or the weather? And what can I do to make a change? Or if I bought an EV, or if I change my refrigerator, which is old, what does that do to my bill, right? DER, the grid mix, is all about solar, battery, and kind of helping the utility understand what the load there is. Advanced rate is another way that the utilities are using to drive behavior change by pricing electricity at different rates at different time of the day when there's a huge load. So giving people the ability in real time to say, okay, the price of electricity is XYZ, and you can definitely go and use your appliances, but it's going to cost you more. And that helps people not only make a change, but also take away any surprises they might see 30 days later when they get the bill. Lots of work on electric vehicles, and demand response is has to do with the peak load management. And what we're also doing is taking all this data that I mentioned and bringing it back to the CSRs. So when anyone calls and says, why is my bill so high, or what is my usage, the customer service reps are able to look into the account at the utility and actually have a very, very intimate conversation on that particular account and give them guidance and coaching, or explain what is happening in their house, because they can actually see it. So this data that we are getting from the meter through our platform is unique, it's untapped, and has a huge value proposition that needs to be front and center to make a change today. So in terms of some results here, this is an example from DT Energy, which is an investor-owned utility serving 2.2 million residential homes. We are seeing an amazing amount of adoption, because when people see what's happening in their home, firstly, they've never seen it before. When they see it, it's like the biggest aha moment. So there's a famous Accenture study that says people spend 20 minutes a year with their energy. And we are seeing 14 sessions per month, each session being about 2 minutes, seeing a huge retention rate, lots of energy savings, 12%. That's an average across the country. If you live in California, numbers are very, very high. And a huge amount of engagement. So if we give people tools, they actually like it, we can all make a difference. So, questions?
Thank you so much. We actually do have a quick question in the Q&A box. The question is, what do you see will be the ultimate driving force for this energy sector transformation? Is it consumer, government policymakers, or utility companies, shareholders, capital markets? And what do you think?
It's a great question. I think all of those things need to actually happen. So utilities are regulated, they're monopolies. And so we need regulators to step in and consumers to be So So to make this change, all those entities that I mentioned really need to change, and technology is playing a role to catalyze all that.
Great, thank you so much. I think we'll wrap it up there. Now let's move on to the next topic. We'll welcome Professor Bulovich from MIT to share his latest thinking around solar technology. Professor Bulovich directs the Organic and Nanostructure Electronics Laboratory, co-leads the MIT NE Solar Frontier Center, leads the Tata Great Edge program, and is the founding director of MIT Nano. Professor Bulovich is also an accomplished entrepreneur and has co-founded quite a few companies on this slides. Without further ado, and now over to you, Professor Bulovich.
Well, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to join you this morning. We have just heard from Manoj Kumar the opportunities in thinking through different energy technologies. My goal with this very brief presentation is to give you a view into the way solar might evolve as we look forward. Solar technology itself has a tremendous potential and tremendous opportunity to redefine the way we think about provision of energy. It is also one of the very cheapest ways of generating electricity. And yet it is really in its infancy compared to where it could be in the next 5 years. Allow me to share the screen, and I will go ahead and share some of my slides. Here we go. So power used now is about 18 terawatts by the planet. This simply means that every second we consume 18 terajoules on average. Depends clearly on what part of the day. And yet, if you look at the sunlight that is given to us, it is much, much larger, about 10,000 times in comparison to what we consume, electricity-wise. So the opportunity really is to ask, how do we capture it even more efficiently and even more cheaply compared to today's technology? The three big photovoltaic markets that you will find today are utility systems, residential systems, commercial rooftop systems. And notice that in each of these images, the solar cells look like panels that are dark blue. They're made of silicon. 90% plus of all of the solar cells out there are made of silicon, sand that has been put on a piece of glass and given us hence very efficient solar technology. How can we improve upon that? Well, this image shows you the cross-section of a silicon wafer compared to a human hair, compared to the new types of solar technologies that have been developed over the last couple of decades and indeed are matching the performance of silicon. But very, very importantly, these technologies are also lightweight. They changed the format of the silicon module that weighs about 50 pounds, 25 kilograms, and change it into a possible rolled out solar panel. Weight. It's not an obvious choice for improving solar technology, but it turns out is the key to reducing dramatically the cost of solar deployment. If you could develop solar cells as simply as you can print newspapers, choose materials that are abundant, just like sand, but not carbon-based materials, sulfur-based materials, you should be able to indeed make extremely lightweight structures. Silicon is not the optimal solar material. It has a right band gap, but unfortunately, it's an indirect band gap, meaning it doesn't absorb light very strongly, and consequently, you need a relatively thick, few microns of silicon to absorb the light you need. And those few microns are on top of a 150 micron silicon wafer that is brittle. Result of that is that if you just pick up the silicon wafer and try to put it outside, it's very likely that when the hail hits it, it will shatter. So we don't do that. We put silicon protected by a piece of glass. Glass adds weight. Actually, most of the weight of the silicon solar panel is in the piece of glass, 3 to 4 millimeters thick, that provides you the mechanical stability of otherwise possibly breakable silicon wafer. Nanostructure materials, like the new ones, are extremely thin, sub-micron in thickness, giving you hence the opportunity to put them on flexible substrates. They're amorphous typically, consequently don't worry about being broken. Being so thin, bending, twisting allows you, one, to make them extremely light, but also not be concerned about mechanical damage that they might survive, that they might incur due to the whatever environmental conditions they happen to be in. Here's an example of one of those flexible, lightweight solar panels, or at least solar materials. Perovskite materials are the newest kind of nanostructure materials that has been showing remarkably high performance efficiencies. Record efficiency achieved last year at MIT was 25%. This has been since improved just a bit to, I believe, 25.6% as of latest. The way you put these materials down is in a very simple printing process. That video on the right shows you a transparent film that, as it dries out, solidifies into a dark film that becomes your solar active film. Richard, in the middle of the picture there, is holding a roll of that film. And here is an image of that film stretched out, a fraction of that 100-meter roll, with a set of students developing the greatest new idea, a very flexible, lightweight solar panel. That solar panel doesn't have to be on a flexible piece of plastic. It can actually be imposed on any surface that's willing to take it. The films are very thin, about 1/50th the thickness of a human hair is the entire active structure. What this allows you to do is to think about solar nearly everywhere and nearly free. You can reduce the cost of installation of solar dramatically. Installation today is done by racking silicon panels on the roof that might need to be reinforced, and certainly it will need to have an aluminum frame that you need to build prior to installation of a solar panel. Instead, you can imagine unrolling a carpet of flexible solar cells, and in this way generating a much easier way to install your cell, reducing the cost by a factor of 3. Installation dominates the cost of solar. The solar cells themselves are very, very inexpensive, and they can be even more inexpensive through this new nanostructured uses, and even easier to install, again, by making them lighter. You might start finding power on any surface you touch. Is it objects in everyday life? Or much more importantly, you might start finding power in places that otherwise are hard to deliver power to. Nearly 1 billion people in the world do not have access to grid electricity. And indeed, for them to achieve solar electrification of their villages requires them to get the power to their village, typically on their own back. Individual carrying the solar panel doesn't care about the efficiency of your solar panel. All they care about is how many watts per kilogram are they carrying, how many trips they need to make in order to deliver the power to the village. It is indeed transformative opportunity. In flexible lightweight modules, you can imagine ways of using them that have never been seen before. Is it electric rickshaws that do exist today and use solar panels that are relatively heavy and consequently cause tipping of the rickshaws on turns? Well, these can be replaced, right, with very lightweight panels. Other technologies exist, many. Here is an example of one of those lightweight, flexible technologies. Piece of paper that, when powered with light, provides enough power to run that electric clock. But it is a piece of paper, and you can treat it like such, pass it through a laser printer in this particular image, and let's see if it still works. Shine light on it, and it will still generate electricity enough to run the clock. You can have incidental presence of power by simply painting a solar cell onto a surface. And through that, generate, again, entirely new paradigms of use and hence new markets. Electric rickshaws are a significant one to consider. Providing water for irrigation is another place to look at, opening up entirely new markets of, let's call it, agri-Uber, where you can provide fuel on wheels as needed. If you look at the lightness of that solar cells, you realize that you can make it nearly weightless. You can generate over 6 watts per gram these days. These are earlier images showing you a solar cell that's light enough that it can rest on top of a soap bubble and not break it, because it is nearly weightless. Of course, for powering space flights, this is a big deal. To launch something into space, it's about $10,000 per kilogram. Making a lighter solar panel would reduce the cost. Variety of other uses. Perpetually flying drones, again, would benefit from such a technology. But these are niche markets. What truly is transformational is asking, how do you reach large populations of the world with such technologies? And weight, reduction of weight, is the key. In the developed world, the appearance of the solar cell, in part, is a challenge for their penetration into the markets. So we have developed, through, again, uses of nanotechnology, these kinds of solar cells. These are nearly invisible solar cells, ones that are able to absorb invisible light, infrared and UV, to generate electricity. Indeed, this piece of glass exposed to sunlight is generating 106 volts of open circuit voltage. That particular piece of glass can be used as the power source. And given that the built environment today has many windows, has many surfaces that are simply there to be aesthetic, having an invisible cell on all those windows and aesthetic surfaces is a vast amount of active area that can be added to the present built environment, hence minimizing, again, the cost of installation. The cells themselves, as I said, let the visible light through and absorb UV and infrared. And if indeed you have a cell like this, like in this video, here it is, let's attach it to a couple of electrodes and attach a motor to those electrodes. And as long as there is infrared light in the room, you will be able to power the motor. Sunlight gives us plenty of infrared light. Our LED technologies as well have remnant LED light as well in the IR. We can hence use that power to power the world if that's what we wish. But it's that deployment that is the key. Startup Ubiquitous Energy is a small startup in Redwood City, California, that is indeed commercializing these technologies. These are windows in their offices, in their conference rooms, that are about 14 by 20 inch in size at this point, and are able to indeed power the offices and the conference rooms using the sunlight that is incident from the side of the building. It changes the way we think about where solar technology can be generated. Is it your glasses? Because simply providing a solar covered glass on your regular glasses would provide you enough power to power a hearing aid or power a Bluetooth radio in your ear. Alternatively, if you had a Kindle that had a solar panel that's invisible on top of its surface, you would never need to recharge it again, because the trickle charging of your battery through the incident light during the course of a week would be plenty to perpetually recharge your battery over and over again. And of course, if you could cover the windows of skyscrapers, which have solar cells, well, in a typical skyscraper, 20 to 25% of electricity could be offset through the windows of the building. There are many opportunities in solar, and we are very much at the dawn of the age of solar advancement. Silicon solar technology has done an amazing amount of advancement for the field. About 3% of the world's electricity is currently supplied by solar. But indeed, even more should come our way. Solar is increasing at about 20 to 25% annually in its deployment. And if this continues, and it will slow down as we have to larger and larger scale, but we can still project that sometime in the 2030s, we can, through solar, provide all the electricity we need. What is missing, of course, is similarly scalable battery technology. Electrification of the transportation sector might help us with that, where we'll both learn about better batteries and we might actually utilize the batteries of our vehicles as a way of storing some of the solar energy and then using it in the evenings to power our homes. These are options and changes in the way we live our lives, but ones that would provide us dramatically less energy intensive existence while still maintaining all the comforts that we're used to. Opportunity is vast, and I'll be delighted to tell you more if there are any additional questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Professor Bolovich. We don't have any live questions at the moment, but I'm glad you're showing our office. You know, I'm from UI Boston. We sit in that Hancock Tower. It would be great, you know, one side or two sides of that building is powered with solar energy. That would be awesome.
It's coming up. Just give it a little bit more time.
Okay, all right. Let me know when it happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to our next segment. We have a fireside chat with an old friend of Nasina, Mr. Mitchell Dong, on cryptocurrency and blockchain. Welcome back. Mr. Dong is the CEO of Pythagoras Investment Management, a hedge fund that trades cryptocurrencies. He's also a serial entrepreneur, has invested in various sectors in his own funds, also started companies which have developed solar, hydro, and cogeneration power plants. He is a graduate of Harvard College and of the OPM program at Harvard Business School. He previously served on board committees of Harvard Alumni Association and was a member of the visiting committee of the Harvard Chan School of Public Health. The fireside chat will be moderated by Tricia Lin. Tricia is the sales lead at Anchorage Digital, a premium digital assets platform for institutions to take custody of crypto. Prior to joining Anchorage, Tricia has spent over 15 years in technology and finance in the TMT sector. Well, now over to you, Tricia.
Thanks so much. It's an honor to be here and moderate this panel on cryptocurrencies and the underlying technology with my dear friend and Pierre Mitchell here. So with that, why don't we jump right into some questions? So Mitchell, what is Bitcoin?
Well, before I say, I wanted to thank Connie and Nasina for having me back. I've spoken in person at Nasina conferences several times over the last 5 or 7 years, so it's always good to be invited back and known that I haven't been kicked out yet. So thanks, Connie, for having me again. So your first question, what is Bitcoin? Well, I often answer that to my young children. And so I'll give you the answer I give to my kids when they were teenagers and to their friends would ask me, or they would come to me and say, Dad, can you explain to my friend what Bitcoin is? So it's very simple. It's Bitcoin is a type of money. It's a digital money. When it first was invented, some people called it e-cash. It's also a currency, just like the Japanese yen or the euro or the US dollar, except that it's not issued by a government, but issued by the community. Some people think of Bitcoin as a commodity, very much like gold. And certainly there are certain government agencies that classify it as a commodity. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a payment system, that is, that you could buy things with it. But that application has not turned out yet. So basically, Bitcoin is the digital money of the internet.
It definitely has a lot of use cases and can be thought of many things beyond a digital currency, like a commodity or a store of value like gold. And even further, beyond just Bitcoin alone. There have been a lot of headlines and news about the cryptocurrency industry. What is cryptocurrency, and why do they call it crypto? And what is Bitcoin's relationship to cryptocurrencies and crypto in general?
Right. You know, some people who kind of joke with me and say, "Is that like an Egyptian mummy in a crypt?" And I said, "Well, not exactly, but it is encrypted." So the way that it got its name, which I believe crypto or cryptocurrency is a horrible name, but that's the name that stuck. It came about because the technology they use encrypts or encrypts the transaction so it can't be changed by unauthorized users. Also, the science of used for the security of the network. You all may have seen the movie about the brilliant British cryptographer that decoded, which is the same science that is used to secure the crypto.
Did we lose Mitchell?
It looks like it. Mitchell, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
We lost you for the last couple seconds.
I see. Okay, but please go ahead. Great.
So we know that the science of cryptography has been around for a long time. There are also a lot of important benefits to cryptocurrencies, like they're centralized, like they're removing over importance on centralization. But certainly there's, which is probably very exciting to a lot of the audience, the technology that underpins some of these assets. Can you tell us a little bit more beyond cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, of which is one cryptocurrency? Tell us a little bit more about the blockchain technology that underpins these assets.
Right. So again, I go back to an analogy with my children. If I start explaining the technology, they immediately turn off. They're not interested. Of course, our audience here are engineers, so they're interested in the technology. But when I explain Bitcoin to the common person, I don't go deep into the technology. But blockchain is the underlying technology of Bitcoin, just like HTML is the underlying technology behind the internet or email, or that the reciprocating engine is the underlying technology behind a car or a truck. And aerodynamics is the underlying technology about how an airplane flies or how a sailboat sails. So looking at the underlying technology and explaining it in a very simple way, the simplest analogy to understand blockchain is that it's a sophisticated Excel spreadsheet with a number of very interesting characteristics. So imagine an Excel spreadsheet, and each block contains some different information. You may have the name of the owner, the amount of Bitcoin, the date, the transfer of the ownership, and a unique serial number. And each one of these blocks contains this information. And this ledger or Excel spreadsheet, once there is a transaction, it's sent out to the community, and it's verified by dozens of independent distributed computers that verify the transaction. Because it's verified by many independent computers, it's considered trustless in that you don't have to trust anyone, you just have to trust the system, because there are dozens of independent parties, completely independent, that are verifying the transaction. And once the transaction is done, you can't change it, and thus it's called immutable. And this whole process of verifying transactions is called Bitcoin mining. And the miners who verify the transactions receive Bitcoin as a reward. But going back to my first comment about blockchain being the underlying technology of Bitcoin, you really don't need to understand it in order to use it. Just like you don't need to understand how a car works in order to drive a car. So if you're interested in the business and the economics and the finance of Bitcoin, I wouldn't dig too deep into the technology of blockchain.
It sounds almost too good to be true. I can start mining Bitcoin and create money and create virtual currencies. How can anyone be a Bitcoin miner? Can you and I mine some Bitcoin from our homes?
Yes, and there are more and more ways to do it. There are people who mine Bitcoin from their cell phones, and there's specialized equipment, not very expensive, that you can buy. I'll tell you a story how I first got into Bitcoin. I was looking for new things to do in 2013 and 14, and an employee of mine, as I heard about Bitcoin, was mining Bitcoin in his apartment in Harvard Square. So I said to Tim, this sounds like printing money. Why don't you set up a few rigs in my basement of my house in Harvard Square? And he did. And it was like a Rube Goldberg contraction. It was noisy. It was hot. All these electronics were all over the place. And it was next to the laundry room. And my wife would go down and she'd look at this thing and she goes, I think you're going to blow up the house. So this continued, and we got our first electric bill. And the electric bill went from $1,000 to $10,000, and we only made like a couple thousand of Bitcoin. So we shut it down. But I noticed that when I went to sell the Bitcoin, it was all different prices. And that's when the light bulb went off. I said, aha, arbitrage. I can buy in the US and sell it in China for a premium, or I could buy low and sell high on a continuous basis. So that's how I started my fund in 2014. We wrote software that looked for these price differences and automatically executed when there was more than, say, a 1% or 10% spread.
That's an incredible story. I think that for those that have been mining Bitcoin since 2013 or 2014, have certainly seen a lot of the opportunities that have been created from Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. I as well have an entry story into Bitcoin that started from mining, where I started a retail company to enable on and off ramps for cryptocurrencies, and my co-founder was mining Bitcoin as well in a sort of like a shared WeWork space. This office building was 20 stories in the middle of Manhattan. And at one point, we actually took out all of the power in the entire building. And we had a little office that was probably 8 by 8 that was filled with mining rigs.
And how much, Manhattan is very expensive for electricity. Yes. So what was your electric bill and how much Bitcoin did you mine?
I'll defer to my co-founder in that one. I think I think it was more a little bit like a slap on the wrist from the property management company, but the Bitcoin at that time, not that much. It was the amount of equipment that we were using ASICs was about the size to fill the entire room. And Bitcoin mining has come a long way since then. But and scarcity supply, and there's 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be minted. Maybe we can shift over to talk a little bit about the design.
Let me just jump in. I have another Bitcoin story, mining story. So obviously China has been really cracking down on Bitcoin mining. China has set a goal of zero carbon by 2060. Or zero carbon footprint by 2060, and it's shutting down what it considers dirty industries that use a lot of coal-fired power plants, and of course Bitcoin mining is one of them. Now, half of China's Bitcoin mining is from hydroelectric power, but the other half is from coal-fired power plants. So, so China has banned mining, first all the ones that use coal. And secondly, it in general doesn't like mining, so it's also going after the ones that use hydropower. So where are all those miners going? Because 75% of all the mining capacity in the world is in China. And we're finding a lot of them want to come to the United States because compared to the other options would be Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Uruguay, and other places where there is excess or cheap power. But the United States has cheap power, and it has renewables, and it's a more stable economy. So I used to be, before I got into Bitcoin, into solar power development. And now we're being approached by many Chinese Bitcoin miners to resurrect our old solar power plants and plug them in as sources of power, renewable power for Bitcoin mining. So we're seeing a real resurgence of Bitcoin mining in the US, particularly using wind, hydro, solar, geothermal, and the like.
This is kind of a perfect segue. We have a anonymous question related to, and crypto in general is so geopolitical, and that's why it's such an interesting case study of the world. But this anonymous question is, Mitchell, what do you think the next phase of crypto would look like, given the governments around the world are taking different views on policies?
Right, right. Well, the different governments range from outright banning it to outright encouraging it. So the countries have banned it. China's banned Bitcoin exchanges. They haven't banned Bitcoin ownership or trading, and they're in the process of banning Bitcoin mining. There are many other countries that have native. You take countries have their outright bans or close to outright bans. The countries that are very favorable are smaller financial centers that are, I'd say, entrepreneurial and looking to attract business. So, questions like countries like Singapore, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Malta, Gibraltar, that are passing laws that are very favorable to crypto. The US is in the middle. It's got a very complicated regulatory structure, and different agencies have different views on crypto. For example, the IRS wants to collect taxes, so it considers Bitcoin as property. If you're selling Bitcoin for a profit, you have to pay your taxes. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC in the United States, classifies Bitcoin as a commodity, and therefore, if you trade futures or options, it's regulated by the CFTC. The SEC is kind of a mixed way that they regulate it. They don't regulate Bitcoin or Ethereum as a security, but every other cryptocurrency they consider a security, so therefore you have to follow strict security laws if you're issuing or trading or using any cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin or Ethereum. And it's a moving target. I mean, the most popular thing that people are following is whether the SEC is going to approve a Bitcoin ETF. I don't think they will in the foreseeable future. When Gary Gensler, the new SEC chairman, testified, he does have, he used to teach blockchain and crypto courses at MIT, so obviously he's very familiar with the technology. But his agenda does not include a Bitcoin ETF. I think he first wants to get Congress to give the SEC authority to regulate Bitcoin exchanges, and that's his top priority for Bitcoin. And then he's got other issues to deal with that nothing to do with crypto. So from a regulatory point of view, it's all over the map. And I hope that we get some clarifying rules, because that will make the large financial institutions more comfortable in holding crypto.
Do you think, Mitchell, that Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency could replace something like the US dollar in our lifetimes or in future lifetimes?
Yes, I do. the US dollar, first of all, you take different parts of the US dollar. The paper US dollar, the use of paper money has shrunk by, I believe the number is 70% over the last 20 years. So it's high time in the digital age that the dollar is digitized. And there's a project called, let's see, what's it called? Something like Digital Dollar Project that is trying to get the US government to digitize the dollar. Now, China's way ahead in that area. China is digitizing its local currency and has rolled it out on an experimental basis in, I believe, a dozen cities. I think that its rollout will be very quick because it's going to partner with Alipay and WeChat Pay, and that'll be all of a sudden you've instantly, a billion users of Alipay and WeChat Pay, and all of these people will be introduced to the digital yuan. So I think that I don't think it'll replace Bitcoin, but it'll be work side by side as a payment system. Bitcoin was originally thought of as a payment system, but it has failed in that respect because it's just simply too volatile. It just goes up and down too much. But a digital yuan or digital dollar or any other fiat currency, I think will be very popular. I heard that there's some 60 countries in the world that are considering digitizing their fiat currency. Another competing currency would be stablecoins. They're designed to be pegged one US dollar, like Tether, like USDC, like HUSD, BUSD, all pegged to the dollar. These are more viable payment systems because they don't fluctuate in value. So I think that the crypto and blockchain revolution is very much on and growing and exploding, and there'll be a lot more cryptocurrencies other than just Bitcoin.
I completely agree with you. Working with, and so I'm with Anchorage, and Anchorage is the first federally chartered cryptocurrency bank globally and in the United States. And we now support about 70 different cryptocurrencies, and our goal is to make it a mission for institutional investors and participants in the space to have a safe home to store their cryptocurrencies. So I'm 100% with you in that the cryptocurrency landscape is far more robust than just Bitcoin. Shifting over to the trading side a little bit, how does Bitcoin trade?
Right, it trades up and down. You can, if you want to buy Bitcoin or trade Bitcoin, it's like opening a brokerage account or a bank account. You would go to Coinbase if you're in the US. If you're in China, you would open up an account in Huobi or OKX or Binance. If you're anywhere in the world, you can access any of these digital exchanges. But it's just like opening a brokerage account where you deposit your money. So you have to prepay for whatever you buy. And just like buying a stock, you would go online and indicate that you want to buy this stock or buy this Bitcoin, and you would buy it. And many people hold it at the exchange. And then when you're ready to sell it, you can sell it. You would log on to your account at any one of these exchanges and view your crypto and view the price and the value. And so it's fairly simple. Some people, after buying it, they don't feel comfortable holding it at the exchange because the exchange could get hacked or they can go down or have mistakes. And some people move their crypto onto their laptop or to their cell phone or to a dedicated device that would just hold their crypto. The advantage of that is that if your laptop is not connected to the internet, no one can, or hackers can't, use digital means to hack into your laptop, so it's relatively safe. But the passwords, the 2FA, and the private keys to get into the laptop or the device, you can't lose them. If you lose them, they're gone. So I personally keep my crypto on the exchange. the largest exchanges in the world, and I feel that that's the safest place for me to hold my crypto. But everybody's got a personal view on that.
There's definitely a lot of different types of ways to store your cryptocurrencies. All different kinds of technology have been invented in the last 5 or 7 years to store the cryptocurrencies, and the infrastructure is really developing quite rapidly right now. So with that, I think we have a really good.
How do you store your crypto?
Well, I'm with a custodian. Anchorage is first and foremost a security company, and so we've developed a hardware to hardware approach. So we actually use hardware security modules on the back end that are military grade, used for things like holding secrets for NASA, and that's why they're perfect for digital assets. And so by way of the fact that I am an employee, I can use this institutional cryptocurrency custody app. But before then, I literally put my cryptocurrencies on a hardware device called a ledger, and I carried it around in my pocket. And when I would travel, it would go with me, and I was always freaking out about losing it or losing the seed words or losing something that would enable me to access those cryptocurrencies. So I moved everything to a trusted party for which I'm also employed.
I think that's the safest way to do it, because at one time I had a ledger as well, and I kept it in my desk, and then I always worried, like, what happens if, I don't know, if somebody steals my desk or if somehow I lost the passwords. So yeah, with it on an exchange or at Anchorage, I think I feel a lot more safe about it.
Definitely good practice. And we know, the last plug I'll make for Anchorage here is we know that most of the largest hacks that have happened in the past are due to fraud or impersonation. So you kind of want to remove the ability for anyone to spoof you or to pretend like they're you and go into a bank and try to open up an account. And those are kind of the things that Anchorage does protect against. Actually, we have a follow-on question that's really interesting and related to trading. What do you think of the market phenomenon that a person like Elon Musk could drive the crypto prices crazy? Do you think that Elon himself has the ability to drive the market, or do you think there are other factors involved that help to indicate where the price action could go? Mitchell, are you still with us?
Looks like we lost him again. Do you want to try that question, Tricia?
I would be happy to. I think that there are certainly
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
I'm back.
Did you hear the question?
No, I guess we lost him. Why don't you try it, Tricia?
I'm happy to. I think that in any nascent industry, especially one that's been... Mitchell, are you there? I'll keep going.
I don't know if this is going to be stable, but if it doesn't stabilize, then you answer. But I said that there are influencers for every product. Like you take the Kardashians or Jay-Z or, all these very famous celebrities. They influence their groups. And Elon Musk is an influencer in the crypto market. And I think he definitely influenced the crypto price. There were other things like China ban at the same time, but he highlighted ESG as a major disadvantage of crypto. He said that Tesla wouldn't take crypto as a payment until the miners got their act together and stopped using dirty coal. So he had a very positive influence, because now I think that impacted China a little bit, and now all the miners are going to renewable energy. So yes, he influenced the price in the short term, but I think in the long term, it was a very positive development to get the miners to go renewable.
I'll add something to what Mitchell just mentioned, and I agree on those 2 points. I think there were other things that also impacted price that are not as exciting. For example, around the same time, it was tax season in the U.S., and the U.S. Treasury announced that crypto transfers of $10,000 or more would have to be reported to the IRS, and so that might have resulted in some transfers. There was also a lot of leverage in the market. There were a lot of people borrowing in order to take short positions, and that is symptomatic of a more evolved financial system. And so, and of course, Elon Musk was also in a very celebrity-like fashion, getting in on the action and tweeting. So it was a lot of different structural things in the market that also led to some of the price action. But crypto is a volatile industry, and that's why for many that trade around it or participate in it also represents a lot of opportunities. I know we have only, how much time do we have left, Connie?
I think we're supposed to go through 11:10, but there are a couple other questions in the Q&A. Do you want to address it?
We can. If we have a couple minutes, that would be great. Going back to trading a little bit, for those that are a little bit new to Bitcoin here, how do you handle the volatility, and what are the risks of trading? Any best practice recommendations as a retail participant?
Right. Well, it's definitely learn about volatility and learn about its ups and downs.
Well, in the
software to trade it. Can you hear me okay?
We missed about the last 10 seconds, so maybe if you could repeat while we have you, that would be great. I'm happy to fill in also. So for Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies in general are extremely volatile. In order to participate, the understanding should be there that it is a risky asset. There are no fundamentals, there's no cash flow, which are false understandings, but it is a very risky asset. I would not encourage anyone to put more Bitcoin buy more Bitcoin with cash than they can afford to lose. So it's still a very speculative asset. My belief is that it will become a store of value, but it is a very speculative asset, and it had 3 drops of 80% of more since inception over 11 years ago. So, it is a risky asset. Mitchell, how did I do? Anything to add there? Looks like he does not.
Is he back?
Well, Maple Joe asks, Mr. Mitchell Dong is such a great speaker and a teacher. How do we get connected? As we are trying to get connected to Mitchell as well.
I know.
On WeChat, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff.
Great. So maybe we'll wrap it up there.
Sounds great. Well, thank you everyone for having us. Mitchell and I can and have spoken for hours on the topic of cryptocurrencies. It's an incredibly interesting and exciting technology, and also a brand new financial system. So if anyone ever wants to chat more, I'm just Trisha@Anchorage.com. And I think Mitchell has provided his contact information as well. But thanks again, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you very much. Enjoy it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Very informative session. Let's move on to our next segment. It's the ES Program Roadshow. For those who are not familiar with the program, YES stands for Youth Entrepreneurship Service. It was first launched in 2005, and now it is the 15th version. Many thanks to our corporate sponsors, IBM and Thermo Fisher. YES program is designed for high school students who would like to learn entrepreneurship and leadership skills through interactive workshops with the instructors and out-of-classroom interactions with their mentors. Students are taught and motivated to discover their passion in science, technology, business, and philanthropy, explore opportunities, and recognize fundamentals of startups. At the end of session of each year, students work as a team to craft the business plans to compete for the award. Some of them may have made prototypes. And this year we have 4 teams created amazing product concepts such as environmental friendly masks and bags, digital watches that alert drivers when they're sleepy. And now let's welcome this year's winners and presenters. Their names are on the screen: William Du, Thomas Du, Hannah Lee, Patrick Chen, and Jiahao Zhang. The presenting team's products are reusable, easily breathable, and highly protective masks. All right, over to the presenters.
All right, so yeah, before we start, I'd just like to say that like we made this presentation like in April, and like we started working on it in September when many states still had lockdowns and mask mandates. But I'll hand it over to Will.
All right. Biomask, protecting both humans and the environment from disease.
We're the 5 co-founders of Sustainable Alt, a new company whose aim is to create eco-friendly alternatives to common products. Our debut product is Biomask. We're all very environmentally conscious of the products that we use, and we hope that this launch product will be able to make a difference and protect the environment from the devastating effects of masks discarded in landfills and oceans. Now, we'll introduce ourselves.
Hello, my name is Hannah Lee, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Sustainable Alt. Every couple of months, I pick up trash and recyclable waste from my local lake.
I'm Thomas Du, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Sustainable Alt. I am part of the environmental club at my school.
Hi, I'm Patrick. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Sustainable Alt. I'm also part of the climate club at my school, and I've also helped with many parts like building the website.
My name is Jiahao Zhang, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Sustainable Alt, and I use reusable bags when I do grocery shopping.
My name is William Du. I am the Chief Technological Officer of the company, and I founded the environmental club at my previous school. So because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the production and usage of masks has increased exponentially from 20 million to up to 450 million masks each day. Regular 3-layer surgical masks take over 400 years to degrade in nature, and this causes an overflow in landfills and oceans, making these masks extremely unsustainable. As a result, the damage will greatly impact the environment and will become even more significant as time progresses.
For the solution to this problem, we need an alternative product that can reduce the environmental impact of masks, be just as effective as common masks. And by effective, we mean having efficient bacteria filtration and particle filtration. And we also want it to be able to appeal to the general public and gain enough support to replace traditional surgical masks.
With that in mind, we propose our new product, Biomask, a biodegradable mask that reduces the devastating environmental impact of masks and serves as a better, cleaner alternative to the common surgical masks. Our hemp fiber masks will have 3 layers with specific functions. The outer layer is intended to repel water, blood, and body fluids. This will be made out of 100% hemp fiber. The middle layer is the critical highlight and is designed as the filter to stop germs from entering or exiting the mask. This will be 50% hemp and 50% cotton. And the inner layer is intended to absorb water, sweat, and spit. This will also be 50% hemp and 50% cotton. Our masks will be very breathable and able to last for a long time.
So you may be asking yourselves, how is hemp fiber just as effective as the material of the traditional surgical mask? Well, firstly, hemp absorbs. If you've ever tried a heavy exercise in a surgical or cotton mask, you know that sweat can sometimes get on the mask and can make it harder to breathe. In fact, the CDC recommends to throw out these surgical masks that have, quote, become moist, damaged, visibly soiled, or difficult to breathe through, unquote. Instead of these other materials, hemp fibers are like a leaf. They can absorb water, but this is normal and will not damage the mask. And this also makes them reusable. And in addition to it being waterproof, hemp also used to be used in ropes. And this was especially common in the era of sailing ships. So if you've ever had a mask tear, you won't have to worry about that with this hemp fiber. And also, hemp fiber is UV resistant. To the everyday person, this is important because we want protection from too much sunlight also, especially in the summertime. Hemp fiber has a UPF 50+ rating, the highest possible rating. This means that it blocks 99.9% of UV rays. This is something no other mask on the market can boast. And in addition to these advantages to everyday people, UV light is also more common now in hospitals to sanitize rooms. This mask would offer even more protection to these hospital workers.
Here are some important facts for you to keep in mind before we go ahead to explain our market opportunity analysis. There are 56.4 million students in the US who physically go to school, 87.2 million adults who have traveled to their workplace, and approximately 94 million masks that are thrown away each week. Keep in mind that these numbers will be growing as more places open up and people start going out again.
Biomask enters the market at the perfect time. With so many people in the US and countries around the world fighting to stop the spread of COVID-19, with surgical masks being mass-produced and bought, as well as the new Generation Z creating a new movement of slowing climate change and supporting sustainable products, this is the perfect time to introduce a new product that ties all of these issues together. Our target customers are adult workers and students with around a middle-class average income of $62,000 or above. Our marketing strengths are characteristics that make our organization attractive to our target audience. Biomask is an innovative product, and it's also the perfect moment to take advantage of the current opportunities, as previously stated, also taking note of the statistics that you saw in the previous slide. However, there are some potentially damaging factors that are still under our control. For example, if the pricing ends up feeling too expensive to the general public, we could always adjust the price as needed, taking into account the preferences of our customers. There are also some external factors that can make it harder for us to reach our marketing objectives, which are out of our control but still manageable. For example, there's the possibility that our reusable masks are not popular enough. However, we predict that, and you will see this in our upcoming slides, we will be able to achieve massive success in biomass.
Here's a comparison of different types of masks. We can see the pros and cons of them. N95 masks are relatively expensive and have an average reutilization rate, although they are protective, but they're also very uncomfortable for people who wear them for a long time. Surgical masks are cheaper, but they're undegradable. Cotton masks are the most common mask. It's very affordable and they're comfortable to wear, but they don't provide enough protection for us. Some people buy athletic masks. They are very expensive and cannot be degraded. They can be washed and used many times, so it's not as harmful as other masks. People overlook the issues that these used masks are highly harmful to the environment. Biomass solve this problem by improving all aspects of the mask, offering high protection, and can be used multiple times. Most importantly, it can be degraded without being discarded. You can clearly see that biomass offers the most benefits out of all these types of masks.
We project that our company will grow relatively slowly at first, and as most companies do, start to see a spike in popularity as time progresses. People may be wary of these new masks, but as we previously said, They are easily comparable to new ones in terms of use and effectiveness. Hemp fiber costs $12.54 per square foot, so it would only take $4.7 to produce one reusable mask. An average reusable mask costs about $7. So in order to gain popularity quicker, we could set our starting price at $6.5 per mask. In our factory, we will invest in automated machines that do most of the work for us, and the factory itself can be rented for $45,000 per year. If one mask can be produced in about 30 seconds, our goal to sell 10,000 masks in the first year, which is 56 hours of human labor, will not take too long to produce. All the humans have to do is attach the straps to the hemp fiber. Based on that low number, our team can probably take care of the production by ourselves, taking away the need for employees. We are planning to raise about $75,000 for our company. We need the money to get our business up, doing things such as buying production materials, marketing, including advertisements, securing a factory and machines, and securing places to sell them. $18,000 will go towards making masks, but the bulk of the cost will go towards securing the things that will keep our company afloat. We can get this money from online fundraisers such as GoFundMe, securing investments from companies and individuals who care about the environment, and loans from family and friends.
In 2021, we're looking for investments and customer groups. We also expect our market share to grow after the pandemic. After we made our product, we will release them into the market, including create content such as ad copies, sales literature, or any websites. We plan to sell 10,000 masks by the end of 1 year. Our revenue expectations for 2021 is $65,000. Then we'll collect feedback from the first group of users and improve our mask and possibly release a new version in 2022. With that being said, we predict our sales will increase by 5,000 masks, so our expected revenue will increase to $97,500. In 2023, we want to follow the market flow so we know what people need and possibly look for some collaborations or other ways to increase the company's revenue. We expect our sales to keep increase each year, and our expectation in 2023 is $130,000. From 2024 to 2025, we will improve any immature system in the company to bring absolute professional and humanized service to the customer. Finally, we want our company to influence the market with a stable customer group and many long-term partnerships. We predict that our revenue will reach $160,000 in 2024 and $195,000 by the end of 2025.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, we can take questions now too.
I don't see any questions coming in, but good job, guys. As a partner of the Big Four accounting firm, I have to say I love to see your numbers. It's well thought business plan. Thank you very much again. Now we're moving on to our introduction of the next year program. Yes, 16 agenda. Just wanted to share the latest information in case any of you wanted to join. We have a few deadlines highlighted here. All sections from September 25th to April of next year, and don't miss the early bird special. And our information session is on September 25th. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send an email or scan the QR code and get connected with Nasina teams. Thank you. And the next section is a roadshow by Innovation Challenge winners. Innovation Challenge is a brand new entrepreneurship program launched this year. The competition started this past November and was wrapped up last night. We have welcomed innovative ideas related to any aspect of our life. COVID-19 related innovations have been highly desired, but not required. The goal is to develop innovative products technologies, applications, or business processes to shape the future of what we live and strive to be. Now let's welcome Nasina's president, Connie Dai, to present awards to the winning teams. Over to you, Connie.
Thank you very much, Ethan. I must say that I'm very excited we're very excited to have launching the Innovation Challenge competition this year. And literally as of last night, we have 21 judges and mentors voted 3 winners out of the 26 participating team. So I'm here to announce the first place is A Innovation Labs, second prize is Camp Van, and the third place is Trustic. And we'll give the teams the opportunity to showcase their innovative business ideas. And congratulations on being a finalist and getting awards for our first Innovation Challenge competition. And we will hand out cash award for 3 winners. If it were traditionally done, if it's in person, we would hand you the checks right now on spot, but we'll put the checks in the mail. The first team will win $5,000. The second winner will win $3,000, and the third place will win $1,000. Congratulations. Now we'll hand over the podium to Mr. Raymond Fu, the representative of A Innovation Labs. Raymond, stage is yours.
Yeah, sure, thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay, I assume everybody can see my screen, right? Okay. First, I want to thank Nasina to give us this first prize award. We're so honored to receive this award. I'm Raymond Fu. I'm the founder of Innovation Labs. Innovation Lab is a Northeastern University spin-out company, and we are focusing on customized edge AI solution for telemedicine and remote fitness. We are in the era of artificial intelligence. In the last 5 years, the technology has been so advanced, especially in the deep neural networks, we call it deep learning. The benefit of such AI tools is those deep learning models are very powerful and promising for many industrial applications. But the downside is such kind of model is very complex and need to run on large computational power and need large memories. So innovation actually provide our award-winning patented deep learning model compression technique that we can port those costly AI algorithm into very customized lightweight process. So many traditional cloud running AI models can now be converted to a very light version and can run on portable devices. So Innovation Labs is a spin-out from Northeastern with 4 patents so far, licensed from Northeastern. I'm a professor at Northeastern University, has been in the AI field for 20 years. I've been with, collaborating with many other researchers in Nasina, so I'm a veteran of Nasina. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. One of the companies called TVision Insights. I'm the co-founder, CTO, and board member of TVision Insights. So TVision Insights was also 2015 Nasina First Prize Award winner, and also the 2015 Mass Challenge Gold Award. TVision has been raising 41 million funding. My second company called Geran. Geran is a Northeastern spin-out. I'm the founder and the president. The company was focusing on artificial intelligence, on augmented reality, on human face analysis. So we simulate digital cosmetics on human faces. Was acquired by Shiseido in 2017. So currently, our team has 5 core members, engineers, designers, and researchers, and also have 5 marketing research team members. We have several openings for engineers, business development and product manager. So Innovation Lab actually providing software-based SDK algorithms for cross-platform, on-device computer vision systems. And so far, we are focusing on lightweight AI algorithm and machine learning solutions for real-time human motion capture and body tracking. So here, I show some result. So if you look at the motion pictures here, on those human bodies, when they're moving, we indeed can track their movement in very accurate and precise way. So we track those landmarks and skeletons, and on the faces, you can see 6 to 8 landmarks on the face. So those tracking eventually happened on mobile devices. So basically, customer can use their mobile phone to achieve real-time tracking of their performance through their cameras on the phone. So it's pretty lightweight, but a high accurate result. More applications are shown here. So those kind of technology provide many potential industrial level capabilities for customer to interact with AI remotely. So the advantage of such kind of technology is compared with some other big players such as Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook, model compression has been a prevalent topic in the AI community. We are different from others' research because we are focusing on a high-level model design and model compression. So basically, we are application-oriented. It's customized AI model compression technique. Compared with others, we, instead of focusing on the low-level model compression, we are focusing on the macro level, on the component level. So basically, this kind of a technique will be more robust, can achieve the best accuracy enhancement and model reduction. Other existing methods basically focus on knowledge distillation, pruning, quantization. Those are more generic methods. And those methods actually sacrifice accuracy in most applications because they're not focusing on the application by itself. So in some cross-domain scenarios, it may fail at some point. So lose the robustness. We attended many international challenges, international competitions in the AI community. So most recently, we achieved the highest result in the 2021 CVPR International Conference Challenge for Sign Language Recognition. And so this is the international challenge. The CVPR is the highest conference in AI. So in both the tracks, there are 30 plus teams all over the world attend this competition. It's a blended evaluation, so we don't know the result before the organizer is gonna run our code and provide the result. So we achieved the highest result in this competition. Our market, so this technology is a fundamental AI technology. Our primary market will be focusing on the telemedicine and remote physiotherapy. So the global telemedicine market is booming in the recent years. In 2019, has been in the market share of 41 billion. With a 15% increase in the prediction years, it's gonna reach 100 billion in 2025. Our obtainable market will be 2.29 billion by 2025. Another market, which is our early entry market, is in-home fitness. In-home fitness is addressing 828 billion market. So there are almost 70,000 mobile apps existing there in the marketplace, focusing on fitness. And our serviceable, obtainable market will be 15 billion. So it's a huge market. COVID-19 actually positively impact this market. It's a straightforward to think about it. So the value proposition of this technology and the business is during the pandemic, especially after the pandemic, people actually change their living style. So they get used to the in-home fitness or telemedicine, and they demand more service in remote fashion. So E-Innovation Lab provide technology advances to any business partners to provide high accuracy post-tracking, estimation, motion capture, and real-time feedback from the AI analysis, and also compatible with cross devices. So this will provide the B2B customers the advantage of reducing their R&D development and provide added value to their current service and product. So to the end user, general customers, is going to increase user attention engagement and avoid injury if they do business, if they do exercise rehabilitation at home, and also provide a way stay social distance and also enrich personalization experience. This project has been receiving several funding awards from community, from government, and also from industry. So we're the recipient of inaugural Gap Fund 360 Award 2018 from Northeastern, and also the most recently 2021 Spark Fund Award from Northeastern. And also we received National Science Foundation ICORP Program Award for marketing research. And very recently we're going to receive the NSF SBIR Phase 1 Award. I didn't list here, we have a lot of marked industry attractions from hospitals, from players in telemedicine, fitness industry. And we have several pilot projects going on. And also we have building several partners in those industry. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Thank you very much, Raymond. What a great way, to commercialize, to using AI and deep learning to commercialize innovation used in rehab and the telemedicine industry. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will invite the second winner, Camp Van, Ms. Meng Yang.
Okay. Thank you, Connie. Let me share my screen. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Hi, this is Meng Yang from Camp Fan. First, I really want to thank Nasina to give me this opportunity to present my passion and my innovation. I really appreciate that. So Camp Fan was really born out of my own pinpoint as a parent. Its mission is to connect every parent with the best after-school activities and summer camps. Just give you a little bit background, the demand for after-school programs is relatively high. And in America alone, over 10 million kids are in various after-school programs, and the number is increasing as well. And the spending is high for after-school programs as well. About half of the parents actually spend more than $10,000 annually. A lot of parents actually spend much more than that, including myself. And however, for parents, it's actually not very easy to find good after-school classes other than from their friends' recommendations or from some, online parent groups. So just, sorry, it's a little bit small here, but just to give you a quick example of, a lot of parents are asking questions on Quora about how to find after-school programs for their kids. But most parents will ask those questions in their local parent communities, including Facebook groups or WeChat, groups. Typical questions they are asking is, where to find a good tennis coach for my 7-year-old, or where are the kids in my town going this summer, especially my kids' friends. And can my kids actually go to the same camp or classes with his or her friends? I've constantly heard that a camp is more fun if the kid goes with his friend. So that's the first problem. The second problem is in terms of the communication channels with other parents or with camp owners. It's actually very fragmented. It can be everywhere, depending on who you talk to. It can be email, text messages, Facebook groups, WhatsApp, or WeChat. So, and for camp owners, on the other hand, it's actually not very easy to communicate with the existing customers, which are parents as well. Email is currently still the dominant communication methods. And a lot of them actually are struggling to reach out to potential new customers. Currently, from our research, a lot of them get through word of mouth or through referrals from current parents. And given the very difficult situation of the COVID, a lot of camps are even struggled even more. Some of them are even get closed if they don't have a very engaged customer community to gain support and insights, or if they cannot very easily pivot, switch to an online format. There are a lot of camps struggle last year and earlier this year as well. So here comes the solution, Camp Van. We really want to kind of serve two purposes. First and foremost, we want to be a one-stop shop, a centralized marketplace for parents to find good summer camps and after-school activities with parent contributed, reviews and trends. We probably are in a similar analogy. We want to be just kind of trip advisor just for camps and activities. And secondly, I really want to build this social community for parents who can easily talk to each other, communicate with each other. Either their kids attend the same camps, or their kids attend the same school or same class, or their kids' friends or parents' friends. Trust me, it's actually not very easy to talk to them currently. And so just give you a quick overview about what Camp Van looks like. First, its app can browse local camps, ranked by reviews. It can view the camp details, their overviews, their reviews. And you can join different chat groups based on the different interests, or you just some casual chats with your friends. And in the future, we want to provide some class registration functionalities where parents can really close the loop. They can do everything here for their kids. So in terms of the business model perspective, we want it to be free for parents and for nonprofit camps. There have been a lot of the very online nonprofit camps or classes during the COVID, and we want to probably make our money from the camp owners who are for profit. It can be through subscription fees or through some class registration commissions. And so I'll give you a brief demo, probably a quick demo, just to see some quick interaction flows here. So here is a list view of all the the classes or camps. You can browse by different categories. You can have a map view and look at their locations, which parents really like. And you can see each camp's activities. There are some overviews. You can follow them if they're interested. You can join different chat groups, chat with other parents within the same camp or classes. And you can join multiple chat groups based on your kids' interests. And you can, also very easily, create chat groups, similar to WeChat and Telegram or Lines, any other, instant messaging tools. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you for your attention. Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Really appreciate it, Meng. I think this is such a great idea. It really solves a lot of problems for parents like me that who spend a lot of time, months way ahead of the summertime to search for a great camp for my kids. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Next, we will have the third place winners, Ms. Tianpeng Wang from Trustix.
All right. Thank you so much, Connie, for the introduction, and thank you, Nasina, panelists, and the judges for this excellent opportunity for us to present. Allow me to share the screen. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. And we are a legal tech company based in Ottawa, Canada. And we operate an online marketplace, try to solve the problem for people who study, live, or work, or do business in another country to when we need legal help, legal answers. And we have been recognized by the Canadian government, Global Affairs, as well as the Canadian Embassy in Beijing as recommended legal service provider. And we have been recognized by a couple of international chambers of commerce. And so far we have registered over 6,000 members, including over 200 business members, as well as over 200 registered lawyers in over 20 cities in 4 countries, Canada, the US, China, and Brazil. And I'm a lawyer by training. I got my law degree in China and the US and became qualified in China as well as New York State, and practiced international business law for over a decade. And throughout the process, and I understand deeply about the legal needs when we live and do business with another country which we are not familiar with. And we are fortunate to have a group of excellent legal tech experts as well as software engineers to build this fantastic platform. Basically, the problem we are trying to solve is when we live abroad or when we do business with another country, and we run into legal issues, legal questions frequently, but without sufficient budget, or sometimes we try to solve the problem by ourselves instead of go to a lawyer immediately. Or even if we want to find a lawyer, good lawyer, we may not know who to go to, especially when we deal with another country. And another thing is, traditionally, legal answers are very complex, and it has been this way for many, many years. But nowadays, especially young generation, look for answers like very simple way. And we are a very young team with international study and working experience, and we understand the legal issues and how people feel it's challenging. Therefore, we provide reliable answers and practical guides as a very convenient way. And people can find their answers quickly by themselves or through our customer support, and they can get connected with vetted lawyers 24/7, wherever they go. Eventually, we want to become one of the must-haves when people go to another country. And we use user-based, like AI-supported machine learning solutions so that the system will suggest and recommend legal answers and the solutions even before people know that they are heading into legal trouble. And basically, we are a marketplace, as mentioned, that we provided like pre-vetted lawyers to provide answers and help to people coming to another country, another continent. And we provide a solution that people can go ahead and book their own call with a vetted lawyer anytime they have like legal issue in another country. Like this morning, we have a client that his son own some guns in Canada without proper registration. And then when the issue happens, they immediately need a lawyer, and we provide that service right away. And the father actually is in China, and that helps him a lot. And another thing we have done is we make the legal answers and the guides available in multiple languages, in English as well as in Chinese on WeChat system, so that people can find it convenient whenever they need answer, even if they don't know, their English is not perfect. And we also provide this kind of like an insurance type of legal help. And we provide this legal, so-called legal assurance plan through universities. And we are in discussion with 3 of the universities. One of them is pretty advanced in terms of discussion. And eventually we want to become like a one-stop legal help, additional legal help for the students, especially international students when they come to live in another country which they are not familiar with. And in terms of market size, and we all know that legal needs is very big, but we may not know exactly how big it is. And the international student market alone, actually there are so many of international students every year, although it has been impacted by COVID, but people expect the international study will keep growing. And after COVID, and international students, new immigrants, and people do business in other countries combined together, they are our ideal customers. And our vision is to become a leading virtual legal service platform where people can have access to quick legal help whenever they need it without paying big engagement at the forefront. At the same time, we help the lawyers to, especially small firms lawyers and the solo practitioners, to market, to promote to potential customers in other parts of the world through digital forms. This is our business, and I hope it's clear. And if there is any follow-up questions, interest, and we will be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Tianpeng. As a lawyer, I can't help but to express my favorism of this business idea. It really creates a platform to connect clients who's looking for lawyers and the lawyers whose desires have clients. There is a lot of times there is often a disconnection between. Thank you for creating this business. It's excellent. Next, as the current president of Nasina, I will give you a pretty quick overview of the accomplishments that we made this year. The past year is a very unique. It has a very unique circumstances because of the outbreak of COVID-19 sometime in February and March last year. So despite of that struggle and difficulties, I think with the greatest support of our team and dedicated officers, we have overcome a lot of the difficulties that are posed by this great challenge. And we have successfully and continuously created a lot of very good events and programs, primarily via Zoom. And I want to give you a quick overview of, we have had approximately 34 events and programs in the past year, and break down to mini technology conference, YES program, Nasina Labs, Innovation Challenge sessions, Entrepreneur Club seminars, career events. We have launched the first of a kind Asian Women Career Conference and our traditional career conference, and some and 3 career boot camps with a smaller scale. And we have also co-sponsored and co-hosted 3 career conferences with Silicon Valley Forum 100. And in addition to that, we have a very fun Christmas gathering by the officers and 3 leadership trainings for internally for the officers. One thing that I am very glad to report is that sort of like ironically, it's thanks to the COVID-19, we were able to reach the audience beyond Massachusetts. Our Asian Women Conference has a matchable massive attendance of about 250 attendance on each day for 2 days. And we were able to receive audience from Chicago, on West Coast, New Jersey, Texas, New York, and also in mainland China and Hong Kong. Very excited about reaching beyond the border of New England. And we have a moderate increase in number of members. And also we have a substantial increase in the newsletter subscribers from a little over 5,000 people to around 7,500 people in the past year. And in terms of our sponsorship, because of the difficulty of doing the events in person, we haven't dedicated a huge effort in seeking sponsorship for the past year. Despite of that restriction, we were still able to raise approximately $10,000 for the past year. The bulk of the money is coming from corporations and individuals to support Innovation Challenge program, and some of the money is paid by the YES participants as tuition, and a small amount of the money is paid as from the anonymous contributors to Nasina. Under the leadership of Ling, our marketing director, we have continued and improved our robust marketing campaign through all kinds of e-marketing strategies, including WeChat, public WeChat, LinkedIn. We want to explore more on how we're going to use Twitters and Instagram and all these very modern technologies to increase the outreach for Nasina. We'll explore that in the next year. Best of all, this year, I think I'm very blessed to have a very strong supporting team of the directors of the programs and also our volunteer officers. Each of them have a very high sense of responsibilities and accountability. They were able to put together a lot of the high attendance and useful programs despite of COVID-19. So this year we have the fortune to have 38 volunteer officers in total, and 85% of them have remained as very active volunteer officers, helping around not only one single program, but across multidisciplinary programs within the Nasina organization. Our partnership and outreach team led by Jackie has continuously partnered with the partner organizations and doing a lot of cross-marketing, cross-promotion of events. And last but not least, I want to thank you, our board of directors. The board of directors not only give their veteran experience from their own professions to help Nasina steer the directions and provide the strategic thinking in a lot of specific programs. They also were able to extend their resources in screening and finding very high quality speakers for our programs, like the few speakers that you heard the presentations just in the previous hours. Thank you very much. I wanna highlight the Innovation Challenge programs that launched this year under the great support and the leadership of Libby Wang. And this is the first time we were doing Innovation Challenge program. We have, here is the statistics that highlight the accomplishment of the program. We have 26 participating teams coming from all sorts of industry focus, including robotics, AI, life science, legal, data privacy, just to name a few. And we have held 4 public mentoring sessions and 3 private mentoring sessions. Our website has, our website, we have 8 social media postings, get more than 3,000 views. And we have 1 program website with 900 traffics and 50 times in Google search. We also, the individuals that the team consists of have a pretty wide spectrum of diversity in terms of their age and the different walks of their life. 105 participants we have 3% people at actually one team. The child is from primary school in China. We have 25% are high school students, and 15% undergraduate students, 9% are graduate students, and 33% are young professionals and experienced professionals, and 15% entrepreneurs. They're coming from not only from New England, but from Canada, Mexico, and China. And we have 21 mentors and the judges, all coming from different kinds of industries, as venture capitalists, legal, professional consulting, PR, and marketing. And 63% of them are coming outside of Nasina organizations. This is something that we were very proud of, that our Innovation Challenge, the traditional, and this is a traditional entrepreneurship program, but out of the traditional spirit of entrepreneurship. This is a pretty modern competitive concept that we are trying this year, and we were able to achieve a great outreach and accomplishments. We're very proud of it. Okay, right now it's a very exciting time for me to announce that Nasina has handed out lifetime awards for 4 retired board of directors, and they are Jenny Chen, Daryl Luck, Chi Shu, and Nan Ying. All of them has been long-time Nasina members, management team, former presidents, and the board of directors. Let me give you a very brief overview of each of the accomplishments made by each of them. So Daryl joined Nasina about 17 years ago. He is the only executive who served 2 presidents in the Nasina history. He has been a board of directors since 2012 and managed many important matters internally. Daryl spearheaded YES program, which grew into one of the most popular and impactful programs in the Nasina history. Daryl's dedication and contribution to Nasina deserves a kudos. Thank you, Daryl. We actually will be handing out the awards at the Nasina 25 years reunion party this evening. If this were an offline program, we would have handed out the trophies right here. Next, Jenny Chen. Jenny was a founding member of Nasina. During the past 25 years of her involvement with the Nasina, she was the first general manager of Nasina. Jenny has not only been an excellent resource to multiple presidents, she was also elected to be the 15th president of Nasina. Using her unique acumen and ability to spot talents, Jenny is instrumental to recommending and selecting generations of Nasina presidents. She retires from Nasina, hoping to give more room to more women to serve to their best ability for Nasina board. Mr. Chi Shu. Chi is the 4th president of Nasina. He brought enormous energy to Nasina, leading an expansion of management team. Chi's charisma and leadership have attracted many talents and fans to join Nasina. Chi has been serving the board for 21 years. He used his technical and management experience to craft strategies for Nasina, to steer the direction and resolve all kinds of issues for Nasina. He also provided significant financial contribution to Nasina over the years. His spirit is Nasina's perpetual treasure and motivating young team members to move forward. He is an indispensable asset for Nasina. Last but not least, Nan Ying. Mr. Ying joined Nasina in 1998 as a way of being a speaker for the technology conference. This led to his election to be the 7th president of Nasina, the first president of Nasina from mainland China. During his tenure as the president, Nan Ying led the team to host multiple high-quality and high-standard technology conferences, which has become Nasina's signature program, attracting a large number of professionals to join Nasina. Nan Ying was elected to be the board member immediately upon his terms of president ended. As of 2017, Nan Ying served Nasina for a total of 19 years. I'm very proud to give out lifetime awards to these 4 contributors to Nasina. We'll see you at the Nasina cocktail party, 25th year cocktail party in the evening. Next, as a transition of Nasina, again, if this were an in-person meeting, we have all these trophies we would like to hand out to officers who made significant contribution. Nasina Office Award for this year, President's Awards to Li Wang, who's the Director of the Innovation Challenge Program, Chairman's Award to Claire Jing, who's the Director of Career and Professional Development. We have Exemplary Dedication Award to Ling Zhen, who's the Marketing Director for this year, Excellent Leadership Award to Susan Xu, the Director of YES Program. We have Distinguished Service Award to Johnny Liao, Florence Gu, Aaron Wen, and Xiaoyi Wang. And a special contribution award to Jackie Yang, Zhou Ni, and Harry Gao. So we also have card of appreciations to hand out to all the Nasina volunteer officers who lended their generous support to the successful execution of the program this year. I would like to read their names: Katie Zhang, Zuo Er, Monica Wang, Xin Yang, Annie Xu, Laura Wang, Xiaoyi Wang, Jian Xu, Jamie Li, Kathy He, Hannah Zhu, Vivian Pei, Yi Ke, Yanan Qi, Hongming Fan, Arthur Xu, Shenchen Liu, Delia Wu, Andy Cui, Anhua Song, Season Sun, Jamie Chang, Chen Chen, and Li Yongge. Give them a round of applause to getting the card of appreciation. Okay, now comes a very exciting time of the exciting moments of the annual conference. I'm very, very happy and pleased to announce that, to introduce to you the next president of Nasina from 2021 to 2022, Claire Jing. Claire is a VP of JP Morgan Chase Bank, who used to be in Houston, and she managed and developed client relationships. She relocated to New England area for market expansion a few years ago. Claire has been very active in community contribution, and she has received numerous awards for her to recognize her contribution to the community. She served on the board of Asian Chamber of Commerce in Houston, and she also served on the board of VN Teamwork Inc. in Houston. Claire has been a significant contributor to Nasina since she moved from Houston to New England a few years ago. Now, Claire, podium is yours.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you, the entire board, for this opportunity, and it is my honor to serve as the president of Nasina for next year. I hope all of you have enjoyed our annual meeting so far. We have just experienced an unprecedented year, and yet, with our strong leaders in this organization, we have accomplished a lot. You just heard from Connie summarized on what we have accomplished last year, and for sure, it is a very tough act to follow. Many of us have found that one of the things that we have helped us get through the pandemic is our ability to pivoting our business operating model to end by leveraging technologies. Through embracing new ideas and focusing on improving the way we live and our ways of doing business, we have emerged out from this pandemic. There's no doubt that future technology will change the world and our life. Nasina is a place where we can connect the people, exchange ideas, facilitate the learning, and make this place better. We will continue focusing on our aspects of technologies to be more inclusive. On this slide, I have listed some of the main programs we will have next year. These programs ranges from seminars where we invited speakers will give the most updated technology trend in a specific field. We also will have classes for people who are not so tech savvy and would like to learn how to express themselves on today's different social media platforms. Programs for young professionals preparing entering workforce and continue polishing their skills throughout their professional careers. Well, Youth Entrepreneur Service Program, which provided teenagers a platform to learn the real business world, how to leverage technology to make it into a real business. We'll continue serving a platform for our entrepreneurs in this community to have the access and make connections in this community and beyond. Next, please, Connie. Thank you. 25 years ago, several successful business leaders founded this organization, and it is a complete volunteer-based organization. I'm a true believer of servicing the community, and I'm passionate about making this place great every day. We often talk about bamboo ceiling in our workplace, and it is true that the leadership skill is one of many critical attributes for a successful individual. We have many programs listed in previous slides, and these programs cover from different age group and expand in different areas. I encourage you to take a look at these programs and find one or two that is most near and dear to your heart. Please email us to the email box listed on the slides. What are some of the interests, and share us with your thoughts and suggestions, or simply just tell us what you want to learn more about them. We will find a place for you to practice your communication, management, and the leadership skills. If nothing else, you'll find a place to make more friends. Thank you again for everyone for spending the entire Saturday morning here with us, and we appreciate your time and your support. Please constantly check our website, WeChat public account, and your email box for any updates. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see you in a couple months. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. So that concludes our annual meeting for 2021. For those of you who received the invitation and registered with us, we will see you at 5:30 for Nasina 25th year anniversary cocktail party. Okay, bye everyone.